Chapter 1977. You're in the 10th trial ground, and I'm in the 2nd trial ground. Do you think I'm weaker than you? Cold Plum's voice seemed to be announcing the arrival of victory. She took a step forward, and a pair of black wings extended from her back. A terrifying energy surged out from her body. Two strange, short blades appeared in her hands. They were clearly not the weapons she used before, and they seemed to be condensed from origin energy. The short blades were only about a foot long, and they were like feathers. They were completely black and gave off a sinister glow. Of course, if that was all, perhaps the audience below the stage would not care too much. But the most important thing was that the moment she took out her weapons, Cold Plum's cultivation was completely displayed before everyone's eyes. The 17th level of the yin-yang realm. Could it be that her cultivation has stabilized? Previously, everyone knew that Cold Plum had benefited from the 10,000 Demons Graveyard, but her cultivation was very unstable. Sometimes it was high, sometimes it was low. Sometimes it was only at the 14th level of the yin-yang realm, and sometimes it was at the 18th level of the yin-yang realm. Therefore, she was actually at a disadvantage during the battle. But now her cultivation did not fluctuate at all, and it steadily stopped at the peak of the 17th level of the yin-yang realm. Although it was not as strong as the Heavenly Wolf Young Master, the aura she released was not inferior to the Heavenly Wolf Young Master at all. I'm not a burden to my master. If you want to make my master suffer by torturing me, then I'll have to disappoint you. Cold Plum's aura was filled with a sinister, killing intent. She was really a little angry. If the Heavenly Wolf Young Master only wanted to defeat her, then it was understandable. But if he wanted to humiliate her master, Ling Xiao, by defeating her, then she would be very unhappy. It's not up to you whether I'm a burden or not. The Heavenly Wolf Young Master roared, and his body glowed with a strange red light. Then let's see if you have the ability. I'll make you scram off the stage in one move. After Lung Mei finished speaking, her figure suddenly dashed out. Her black feathers fluttered, and at that moment her speed was infinitely close to Ling Xiao. Even the Heavenly Wolf Young Master could not see her movements clearly. Kill! The Heavenly Wolf Young Master had no way out. Amidst the roar, a red light pierced through the air. At the same time, two gigantic wolf claws descended from the sky, slapping towards Cold Plum's afterimage. His attack was extremely powerful, but Cold Plum's movements were much lighter and did not even cause much elemental energy waves. Chi! The sound of something being torn apart could be heard in the air. After that, everyone saw Cold Plum and Heavenly Wolf Young Master standing on both sides of the stage. On Cold Plum's cheek, there was a clear-cut cut by the wolf's claws. On the other side, the Heavenly Wolf Young Master directly landed on the stage. He was still muttering to himself, "Impossible! How could this be? She's just a servant girl. How can she be so strong?" To be honest, even Ling Xiao was shocked by this scene. He never thought that after awakening the power of the Black Feather Men, Cold Plum would be able to defeat the Heavenly Wolf Young Master so easily. One move. Just how much effort did this girl put in to catch up to him? Although she had the help of fate, Cold Plum was still trying too hard. Ling Xiao still had his own life, but Cold Plum's was cultivation and battle. How could someone like her not grow stronger? Well done! Ling Xiao stood up and applauded excitedly. This woman really can't be underestimated. Even if she can't make it into the top 6, she'll definitely make it into the top 8. The crowd stared in shock at the Heavenly Wolf Young Master sprawled on the ground, blood dripping from his wounds. If not for the Wolf Clan's thick skin and thick flesh, the Heavenly Wolf Young Master would have been hard-pressed to escape death. That strange, sharp weapon actually brushed past the Heavenly Wolf Young Master's neck and sliced through his shoulder muscles and bones. It was a hair-raising sight. This battle, Cold Plum wins. Next up, Feng Fei chose Green Hill Leaf Fire, whose cultivation had already been crippled by Ling Xiao. There was no need to fight. Tian Hai Tyranny chose Drunken Exquisite. This was a direct battle between the top 6. Everyone thought that this battle would be spectacular, but the results were simple. Drunken Exquisite didn't even have a chance to attack. As soon as she stepped onto the stage, Tian Hai Tyranny punched her out of the arena and injured her. By the time it was Lei Lai's turn, there were no weaklings left for him to choose from. He looked at the people he hadn't chosen yet before finally looking at Long Qin. "You'll be the one." Lei Lai had been waiting for this battle for a long time. Although he'd always wanted to break Ling Zhao's spirit, he was a cautious person. From the first round until this one, he'd only chosen weaker opponents. Now that there was no way to avoid him, he finally set his sights on Long Qin. That was because Long Qin was the weakest of the martial artists he could choose. At least that was what he believed. Long Qin's expression was grave as he stepped onto the stage. He had only lost once so far, so he didn't want to give up so easily. Even if he couldn't defeat Lei Lai, he wanted to show Ling Xiao Lei Lai's special traits. That way, it'd be easier for Ling Xiao to choose Lei Lai next time. Boom! The moment Long Qin stepped onto the arena, a few bolts of lightning struck down from Lei Lai's body. His entire body was wrapped in the terrifying lightning. The heavenly lightning tiger, Lei Lai, lived up to his name. This Lei Lai is at least in the top 4. It's hard for Long Qin. Ling Xiao sighed. Although Long Qin's talent was outstanding and his progress was fast, there was no way he could catch up to someone like Lei Lai in such a short time. Against Lei Lai, he didn't have much of a chance of winning. If even he thought so, the audience didn't need to say anything. Almost everyone thought that Long Qin would lose without a doubt. Long Qin, if you can't beat him, just surrender. There's no need to fight to the death. Your future is still bright, so there's no need to be foolish. Ling Xiao sent a telepathic message to Long Qin. He was most afraid that Long Qin would get angry and refuse to admit defeat. Then Lei Lai might really kill him. Although you didn't kill my 2 brothers, Lei Tun and Lei Mang, they died because of your brother Ling Xiao. How do you think I should treat you? Lei Lai looked at Long Qin coldly and asked, "Whatever." Long Qin stood there and felt Lei Lai's terrifying aura. It was as if his body was being bombarded by countless bolts of lightning. Even speaking was strenuous. He changed from his human form to his half-dragon form. In the end, he directly entered his giant dragon form. He had no choice. His opponent was too strong and the pressure was too great. If he didn't transform, he wouldn't even be qualified to fight. His entire body was trembling. After transforming into a dragon, he released his dragon aura, and the pressure was finally reduced. Although he was still so nervous that it was suffocating, at least he could move now. "Is that so? Then how about I kill you?" A cold killing intent appeared on Lei Lai's face. "Your brother Ling has also killed many people. If you die, blame him for offending too many people. White Tiger's Wrath, kill." Chapter 1978. White Tiger's Fury Lightning, kill. The terrifying tiger-shaped lightning bloomed in the sky, illuminating the darkening sky. Then it pounced towards Long Qin. The terrifying thunder and crazy fighting spirit seemed to want to completely destroy the entire arena. Everyone looked at this scene in horror, their bodies trembling violently. Too strong. This aura is much stronger than Ling Zhao's. Is this the strength of the top 3? It's really shocking. At this moment, people realized that their judgment of Lei Lai was still too low. This Lei Lai was too strong. He was much stronger than any of the top geniuses Ling Xiao had defeated before. He was even more terrifying than Ling Xiao himself. Thunder roared in the sky. In the entire void, there was only thunder and lightning. Long Qin stood on the stage, unable to launch any attacks. He could only passively defend. Terrifying bolts of lightning bombarded the dragon's body one after another, emitting a charred smell each time. Roar! Long Qin was unwilling to lose like this. He raised his head to the sky and let out a dragon's roar. spitting out scalding dragon extinguish that filled the entire stage. No matter what, he didn't want to lose without even injuring Lei Lai. That would be too shameful. But sometimes the difference in strength wasn't something that could be changed by a single person's thoughts. No matter how unwilling Long Chen was, no matter how angry he was, right now, he really couldn't do anything against Lei Lai. The terrifying dragon extinguish couldn't even get close to Lei Lai. It was easily destroyed by the tiger-shaped lightning. Damn it. For the first time, Long Chen felt that he wasn't strong enough. He was truly vexed. However, what he didn't know was that he was already extremely lucky to be able to reach this step. After all, his opponent was Lei Lai, an existence on par with Feng Fei and Tian Hai tyranny. Admit defeat immediately. Ling Xiao shouted. If Long Chen didn't admit defeat, he would be breaking the rules if he interfered. Only by admitting defeat would he be able to interfere. He won't have a chance to admit defeat. Lei Lai revealed a cold smile as he looked at Ling Xiao and said, I told him that once this battle begins, it will only end when he dies. You killed 2 of my brothers, so I will make your brothers pay with their lives. Die, beast. A sword suddenly appeared in Lei Lai's hand. This was the first time this fellow had used a sword in the arena. At this moment, people might have realized that he was actually good at swordsmanship. The sword broke through the clouds. Then the thunderclap sword in Lei Lai's hand pierced towards Long Chen with an unstoppable force. He wanted to kill Long Chen as soon as possible. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying roar sounded from the arena. The violent vibrations blocked Lei Lai's sure kill strike. Long Chen hurriedly roared, I lost! Under the pressure of his opponent's fighting spirit, he couldn't even shout out the sound of admitting defeat. Fortunately, he still had the Thunderbolt Thunder Fireball that Ling Xiao had given him in his storage ring. Otherwise, he would really be in trouble today. However, even though he had shouted out the words to admit defeat, Lei Lai did not stop attacking. After being obstructed by the Thunderbolt Thunder Fireball for a moment, he was obviously even more furious. Thunderclap sword dragon slaying. A violent voice came out of Lei Lai's mouth as he charged towards Long Chen like a madman. The terrifying sword chi was already causing damage to Long Chen's huge dragon body. The golden dragon scales were constantly shattering. Lei Lai's sword chi was really not inferior to Ling Xiao's sword chi at all. At least, that was what it looked like at the moment. F***CK, I'm really going to die. Long Chen only revealed a calm smile in the face of death. Suddenly, an even more shocking energy was brewing in his body. If you don't want me to live, then let's die together. I'll let you see the power of a huge dragon's self-destruction. Long Chen would not beg for mercy. Anyway, even if he did, his opponent would definitely not let him go. Since that was the case, he might as well go all out. If his opponent didn't want him to live, he wouldn't let his opponent live either. Stop, Long Chen. Just as Long Chen was about to perish together with Lei Lai, Ling Xiao's voice rang in Long Chen's ears. A thick sword chi descended from the sky and turned into a blood sun that shone brightly. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying thunderclap sword was shattered. Lei Lai sighed helplessly. His face was gloomy. He had disregarded the rules and was still unable to kill Long Chen in the end. It was such a pity. After that, there would be no more chances. After all, there was only one possibility between him and Long Chen. Lei Lai put away the sword in his hand and stood proudly on the ring. He looked coldly at Ling Xiao, who was below the ring. You don't have to look at me. You don't have the ability to stop him from admitting defeat. That's because you're a piece of trash. Once he admits defeat, my attack won't be considered a violation of the rules, but you will be punished by the rules. Ling Xiao looked at Lei Lai and said righteously, My hand just slipped. The battle was so intense. How could I stop my attack in an instant? Lei Lai's excuse was perfect. After all, his attack had stopped after Ling Xiao stopped it. Thus, no one could say anything about such an excuse. Very good. Your excuse is perfect. But don't forget, The two of us still have to fight. Unless you admit defeat early, don't even think about having a chance to do so. Ling Xiao looked at Lei Lai and said, "From the moment you tried to kill Long Qin, you should have made your preparations, right?" "Of course. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Lei Lai was the same as Feng Fei and Tianhai tyranny. Even now, he didn't think that Ling Xiao would be a threat to them. Even if Ling Xiao defeated Xiao Budian, it wouldn't make a difference. Although they were known as the 13 top geniuses, the three of them were considered to be on the same level. The others were slightly inferior. Lei Lai looked disdainfully at Ling Xiao and tossed out a sentence. "If I can't kill Long Qin, then I'll kill you. You won't admit defeat, right?" "Of course I'll admit defeat, but there's no need for that against you. If I really do admit defeat, you can continue attacking until I'm killed. As long as I agree, it shouldn't be against the rules, right? Referees?" Ling Xiao wasn't a stubborn person. If he met an opponent he couldn't beat, he would naturally admit defeat. But Lei Lai clearly wasn't worthy. Now that he had said such words, he wanted to express his determination. Only by cutting off his means of retreat could he fight with all his strength. He wouldn't leave himself a way out. Of course, it's not against the rules. The referees wanted nothing more than for Ling Xiao to be killed. Now that Ling Xiao had made such a request, it was very reasonable. "Very good. I hope you remember your words." Lei Lai probably didn't have the confidence to stop Ling Xiao from admitting defeat, so he said these words to provoke him. If Ling Xiao admitted defeat, he could continue attacking without breaking the rules. "Of course I'll remember my words. But what about you? Do you dare to do the same?" Ling Xiao grinned at Lei Lai. In truth, he didn't have much confidence in stopping Lei Lai from admitting defeat. Thus, he had to make sure that his opponent's surrender was invalid. Chapter 1979. Although Ling Xiao was confident that he could defeat Lei Lai, his opponent wasn't weak. Once there was a chance to admit defeat, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Therefore, he naturally had to think of a way to cut off Lei Lai's escape route so that he couldn't admit defeat. "Do you dare to accept a life and death duel like me?" Ling Xiao looked at Lei Lai and asked coldly, "Of course I dare." Lei Lai never thought that he would lose to Ling Xiao. Of course, he wouldn't reject such a promise. Therefore, the battle between the two of them could be considered a life and death duel. "Very good. In the next round, I will challenge you. Be prepared. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance to prepare." Ling Xiao looked at Lei Lai coldly. The reason why it was the next round and not the next round was because he had already decided on his opponent for the next round, Long Qin. Letting Long Qin take the initiative to admit defeat was also to give Long Qin a chance to rest. It was better than admitting defeat to other cultivators. "Up to you." Lei Lai nodded and said, "Sooner or later, you won't be able to escape death anyway." Ling Xiao didn't say anything else to him. Instead, he turned around and looked at Long Qin. He handed him a healing pill and said, "Make use of the time to recover. I will challenge you in the next round. Just admit defeat." And, naturally, Long Qin wouldn't object to admitting defeat to Ling Xiao. He knew how strong Ling Xiao was. Moreover, he was injured now. Even if it was a friendly duel, he wouldn't be able to defeat Ling Xiao. Admitting defeat was the best choice. I didn't expect to see Ling Xiao compete with the top 3 opponents so soon. I thought he would choose Zui Linglong first. I think so too. After all, Zui Linglong is weaker than Lei Lai. His chances of winning are higher. He is a righteous person. He wants to avenge his brother. Naturally, he will fight Lei Lai. Since it's the last few rounds, he will fight Lei Lai sooner or later. Lei Lai's swordsmanship is outstanding. Ling Xiao's swordsmanship is also very strong. Will the two of them compete with swordsmanship? It's hard to say. After all, both of them have a variety of attacking methods. Amidst the discussions, Mu Wanshuang stepped onto the arena. Naturally, she easily defeated her opponent again without any suspense. Ever since this woman had revealed her true strength, she had always defeated her opponents with just one move. No one could figure out her true strength. In fact, everyone agreed that she was even stronger than Ling Xiao. Among the top 6, she was at least in the top 3. After Mu Wanchuang's battle, all that was left was noobs pecking each other. At least, that was what the audience thought. After this round, Ling Xiao, Cold Plum, Feng Fei, Tianhai Tyranny, Lei Lai, Mu Wanchuang, Long Chen, Zui Linglong, and Sir Heavenly Wolf formed a small internal cycle. This was because they had already challenged the remaining 8 people. Those people had also fought with the 9 people in front of them, other than Qingqiu Lihua, who had not had his cultivation crippled. The rest of them had all lost to the 9 people in front of them. Now that Qingqiu Lihua's cultivation had been destroyed by Ling Xiao, he was basically a cripple. The current situation was that the first 9 people would fight for the first 9 spots, while the last 8 fought for the last 8 spots. Even if they fought separately, there would be no problems. This made the following battles even more exciting. Whether it was noobs pecking each other or strong fighting, fewer and fewer martial artists would admit defeat. After all, the difference in strength between the 2 sides wasn't that great anymore. To the audience, this was the best situation. Of course, the noobs were relative. Dan Feng, the Silver Wolf Princess, Jun Maching, Jun Macho, Blue Snow, Hongyu, and Sun Lingchan were all evenly matched. Qingqiu Lihua was naturally a freebie. After Ling Xiao destroyed her cultivation, she could only watch as others took points from her. There was nothing much to say about the next round. Ling Xiao did as he said and challenged Long Qin. Long Qin simply admitted defeat. As a result, Ling Xiao maintained his undefeated streak. On the other hand, Lang Mei chose Qingqiu Lihua, who she had not fought before. Most importantly, Qingqiu Lihua had not fought in the previous 2 rounds. Therefore, even if it was the small cycle, there was still a possibility that she would be chosen by the top 9. She then gloriously became the one who gave out points. Feng Fei chose Heavenly Wolf Gentleman and won easily. By now, Heavenly Wolf Gentleman had long lost his confidence after being beaten by Cold Plum. He had no fighting spirit to speak of against Feng Fei. By the time it was Tianhai Tyranny's turn, he didn't have many choices. He could either choose Lei Lai or Mu Wanchuang. Among the top 9, the others had either already fought in this round or had already been defeated by him. After glancing at Lei Lai and Mu Wanchuang, Tianhai Tyranny's gaze finally fell on Lei Lai. Compared to the mysterious Mu Wanchuang, Tianhai Tyranny felt that Lei Lai was easier to deal with. Lei Lai gave a start, his expression turning gloomy. Tianhai Tyranny had chosen him over Mu Wanchuang. Did they think he was inferior to Mu Wanchuang? Tianhai Tyranny, you will pay the price for your own choice. Terrifying battle strength poured out from Lei Lai's body and soared into the skies. He, Feng Fei, and Tianhai Tyranny were hailed as the 3 most outstanding of the 13 top geniuses. But in truth, he had never been as famous as the other 2. Those 2 were known as the unparalleled pride duo. He was unconvinced. He always thought he was too low-key, so others looked down on him and thought he was inferior to the other 2. But now, Tianhai Tyranny was standing before him. As long as he defeated this guy, he could replace him and become one of the unparalleled pride duo. He wasn't afraid, only excited. Tianhai Tyranny, you will lose to my thunderclap. After saying that, Lei Lai's body emitted a shocking lightning. He actually attracted the heavenly thunder, causing the wind and clouds to change color. Now, Lei Lai only had one worry left. He turned his head to look at Ling Xiao and said, "Can we postpone our fight?" Of course, I have no interest in defeating a heavily injured Lei Lai. Ling Xiao wanted to defeat Lei Lai fair and square and make him accept his loss wholeheartedly. If he killed a heavily injured Lei Lai, then it would be very boring and wouldn't bring him any benefits. After all, such an opponent was hard to come by. Every battle would improve his strength in all aspects. Very good. Then I can wholeheartedly fight against Heavenly Ocean Tyranny. Lei Lai might hate Ling Xiao, but he knew that Ling Xiao was a man of his word. Every word was a nail in the coffin. Naturally, he wouldn't go back on his word. Tian High Tyranny looked at Lei Lai like a king. It's only interesting if you go all out. Otherwise, even if I defeat you, you won't accept it. Chapter 1980. Are you looking down on me? Lei Lai's expression was unsightly. No, I'm just speaking the truth. You're very strong, but you're still a far cry from me. Tyranny Heavenly Seas continued indifferently. Today's White Tiger Gathering is destined to be my Tyranny Heavenly Seas stage. You pose no threat to me. As for the rest, Cold Plum and Long Chin aren't worth mentioning. Ling Xiao isn't much either. As for Muan Shuang, she might be interesting, but she won't be able to escape defeat. From start to finish, I only had one opponent, and that was Feng Fei. How arrogant. Is this the crown prince of Tianhai Empire, one of the legendary twins? Everyone looked at Tyranny Heavenly Seas on stage. Although his words were overbearing and arrogant, most people didn't find them repulsive, because this person was indeed powerful enough. He was indeed qualified to say such words. But isn't he underestimating Lei Lai a bit too much? Yeah, Lei Lai is someone on the same level as him. Moreover, his White Tiger bloodline paired with Thunderclap Sword is incomparably powerful. How could Tyranny Heavenly Seas ignore Lei Lai? From his tone, it seemed that he could completely control this battle and obtain an absolute victory without severely injuring Lei Lai. Can he really do it? Others might not be able to do it, but he might be able to. People had all sorts of opinions about Tyranny Heavenly Seas. Of course, as the opponent, Lei Lai wasn't very comfortable. After being underestimated to such an extent, Lei Lai, could no longer hold back. After this battle, you won't be so arrogant. I'll definitely make your arrogant head bow before me. Lei Lai said sinisterly. He wouldn't hold back in this battle. He would go all out. Even if he couldn't take first place, he couldn't let Tyranny Heavenly Seas humiliate him like this. Since that's the case, then make your move. I'd like to see how you'll make me bow my head. Tyranny Heavenly Seas stood there with his hands behind his back. He seemed to have no intention of making a move. The wind ruffled his robes, but it didn't change his expression. He seemed to always be so confident. So confident, it was as if no one could pose any threat to him. Lei Lai looked at tyrannical Heavenly Ocean, his expression growing colder and colder. The terrifying power of thunder shot up into the sky from all over his body, and his body gradually transformed into a half-tiger state. Every pore on his body seemed to be shooting out lightning. Whoosh! In that instant, his figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was about a meter away from Heavenly Ocean Tyranny. Terrifying lightning wrapped around his enormous tiger claws, slapping towards Heavenly Sea Tyranny's vital points. Rolling thunder and lightning constantly emitted shocking light and roars. In that instant, Heavenly Ocean Tyranny finally erupted. An aura of supremacy erupted from his body. Fear, majesty. However, within this tyrannical aura, there was also a hint of evil. Kill! Tyranny Heavenly Ocean spat out the word kill, but his hand still didn't move. Two strange black lights shot out from his eyes. These two black lights pierced through the barrier formed by the lightning and shot towards Lei Lai. What? Lei Lai's eyes trembled as he hurriedly retreated. Then he waved his hands and attacked the two black lights. He was already fast enough, but this 1 meter distance felt like 108,000 li. It was as if he couldn't cross it. Instead, he was flustered by the black lights shooting out from Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's eyes. He had no choice but to switch from offense to defense. Boom! The black lights hit Lei Lai's fists. An entire space seemed to tremble violently. In front of Lei Lai's fists, a black vortex appeared. After a long time, it slowly dissipated. Lei Lai took 2 steps back before stabilizing himself. Not only did Heavenly Ocean Tyranny not retreat, he even took 2 steps forward. The terrifying aura was even stronger than before, as if he wanted to crush Lei Lai to death. I said before, you're no threat to me. Your white tiger bloodline may be powerful, but the strength of your bloodline isn't the deciding factor. Talent is more important. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny didn't counterattack. His hands were still behind his back as he looked coldly at Lei Lai, as if Lei Lai wasn't worth mentioning in front of him. Many people were also intimidated by Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's aura, believing that Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's words weren't empty. If you have the skills, then don't ever make a move. Lei Lai had always been a cautious and wise martial artist. Aside from the fact that he was an enemy, Ling Xiao still admired him. Even in the face of the previous situation, Lei Lai didn't panic at all. He only smiled coldly. A thunderclap sword was condensed by him. The thunderclap sword was about 3 meters long. It was completely different from ordinary treasured swords and required both hands to wield. Lightning danced on the sword's blade, as if it wanted to help its master win this round. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny furrowed his brows. His psychological attack hadn't worked. Although he believed himself to be much stronger than Lei Lai wasn't as harmless as he claimed. He had only said those words to make his opponent lose his will to fight. That way, victory would be easier. After all, he still had to save his strength to deal with Feng Fei. But Lei Lai had seen through him, so there was nothing he could do. He had no choice but to attack. Fine, since you want to taste my attacks, then I'll let you taste the power of my divine crocodile bloodline. As soon as Heavenly Ocean Tyranny finished speaking, the terrifying power of his bloodline stirred in his body before exploding outwards. Terrifying blood qi enveloped Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's entire body. It was so powerful that it was suffocating. How terrifying! Heavenly Ocean Tyranny didn't even use his bloodline power before and was able to beat Lei Lai back so easily. Now that he's using his divine crocodile bloodline, can Lei Lai still win? The peerless duo, they're not just bragging. His Highness Crown Prince of the Tianhai Empire is truly too strong. The aura of a tyrant rose from the stage and spread below. Many martial artists with weak willpower actually knelt before Heavenly Ocean Tyranny. All of them were trembling in fear. They were clearly intimidated by Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's fighting spirit. His right hand reached out from behind his back, the wind from his palm causing the air to tremble. Behind that terrifying palm energy, the image of a giant divine crocodile stared fixedly at Lei Lai. Lei Lai, your White Tiger Empire has always been proud of the White Tiger bloodline, believing it to be one of the 13 powerful bloodlines passed down from ancient times. Our Heavenly Ocean Empire's divine crocodile bloodline isn't even worth mentioning. Today, I'll show you in front of everyone that your White Tiger bloodline is inferior to our divine crocodile bloodline. As he spoke, Heavenly Ocean Tyranny took another step forward. His right hand gently pushed forward, but it was like a mountain pressing down on Lei Lai. Chapter 1981. Thunderclap Sword Annihilate All. Lei Lai looked coldly at Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's palm. The thunderclap sword in his hand suddenly glowed. A large amount of thunderclap power gathered on the sword. Then he gripped the sword with both hands and stabbed out with a roar. Rumble! The sound of the heavens collapsing and the earth splitting rang out. Lei Lai felt his arms tremble. His opponent's palm strength was terrifying. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's strength wasn't just for show. But so what? Lei Lai didn't retreat this time. Behind him, a tiger-shaped thunderclap gradually formed. Then the thunder element in the air rushed towards this thunderclap tiger. As the thunder element continued to pour in, Lei Lai's shattered palm gradually healed at an extremely fast speed. Lei Lai is also very strong. He can actually use the thunder element in the air to heal his injuries. This battle will be interesting. Everyone excitedly watched the battle between these two powerhouses. Compared to the previous meaningless surrenders, this battle was simply too exciting and too exciting. The legacy of an ancient bloodline really is powerful. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's left hand was still behind his back. He single-handedly suppressed Lei Lai. He looked coldly at Lei Lai, revealing a hint of mockery. But no matter how strong your bloodline is, killing Ling Xiao might be easy, but against me it's useless. F***ck off. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny finally took out his left hand from behind his back. His two palms came together, and an almost doubled power bloomed from his palms. The faint roar of a crocodile god could be heard. Rumble. Once again, Lei Lai was sent flying. Last time he had retreated 2 steps. This time, he retreated more than 10 meters. But unlike last time, Lei Lai didn't land on the ground this time. He somersaulted in the air and once again attacked Heavenly Ocean Tyranny. I'm already tired of listening to your big words. Thunderclap sword, White Tiger's Rage. In the air, Lei Lai's sword Qi transformed into a fierce white tiger with a pair of wings on its back. It charged towards Heavenly Ocean Tyranny with an unstoppable momentum. Roar! The white tiger let out an astonishing roar in midair. Rumble! A shocking explosion resounded. The thunderclap sword once again clashed with Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's palms. But this time, Heavenly Ocean Tyranny didn't gain the upper hand. His palm was pierced by the sword, and he had no choice but to take 2 steps back to block the sharp and terrifying sword Qi. His palm completely healed in an instant, and then he coldly looked at Lei Lai, his killing intent extremely dense. Lei Lai had actually injured him. Although it was only a light injury, it was still unforgivable. Beautiful. The crowd below the ring burst into excited roars. They had originally thought that Heavenly Sea Tyranny would completely crush Lei Lai. Never could he have guessed that Lei Lai would have a counterattack like this. It was so powerful that it could easily kill a half-rebirth stage life-sizer. When a martial artist cultivated to the 18th level of the Yin-Yang realm and condensed the 18 levels of hell, they could begin to seize life from the heavens. This was because every reincarnation meant one death. If one didn't possess the ability to seize life from the heavens, then even if one advanced to the rebirth realm, one would still be unable to escape death. Reincarnation meant that there was life and death, die, and then come back to life in another form. This was a single reincarnation. To reach the half-rebirth realm, one had to seize life from the heavens. The 18 levels of hell, the 18 levels of life-seizing. Every stage was a first life-sizer, but there were no minor realms in between. There was only the number of life-seizers. Thus, the half-rebirth realm was also known as the life-seizing realm. Although the official realms didn't have such a name, martial artists still like to call it that because it was simpler, more direct, and more clear. Lei Lai was at the peak of the 18th level of the Yin-Yang realm and was much stronger than Heavenly Wolf Prince because he was about to enter the life-seizing realm. And his sword strike just now could kill a first life-sizer as easily as flipping his hand. And yet it had only lightly injured Heavenly Ocean Tyranny. Just what cultivation level was Heavenly Ocean Tyranny at? These two fellows were truly worthy of being considered to be in the top 3 right from the start. Their strength was too strong, to the point that it was suffocating. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny looked down at his healed palms, then gave Lei Lai a disdainful look. Very good. Not bad at all. The power of your thunderclap sword really makes me take notice. But do you really think that's enough to beat me? At this moment, Lei Lai's brows were tightly knitted together. Although the attack just now was not his strongest attack, it was almost there. He hadn't expected Heavenly Ocean Tyranny to be unharmed. Just what kind of martial soul did this guy have? Not only do you have the crocodile god's bloodline, but you also have some kind of martial soul, right? What kind of martial soul is it? Lei Lai asked. You know I won't answer, so why ask? Besides, I have more than one martial soul. Now, I'll show you my raging sea martial soul. Boom! As Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's voice rang out, a wave dozens of meters high rose up behind him. It was as if the entire sky had been invaded by an endless ocean. In that instant, Lei Lai felt an incomparably terrifying pressure bearing down on him. His expression became even more unsightly. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny was truly much stronger than he had imagined. Raging Sea Martial Soul is a martial soul that has been passed down for a long time in the Heavenly Ocean clan. Although it can't be considered a shocking martial soul in my hands, it is an invincible martial soul. Even heaven and earth will be submerged by my raging sea waves. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's voice was cold and tyrannical. Right now, he was like a sea god that controlled the ocean, about to invade heaven and earth. Invincible? Is it really invincible? Lei Lai refused to admit defeat. As a martial artist on the same level as Heavenly Ocean Tyranny, how could he admit defeat so easily? Raging thunder shocks the heavens. Break for me. Lei Lai roared, thrusting his thunderclap sword forward. The thick thunderclap sword chi destroyed the raging sea waves. With each wave destroyed, Lei Lai could clearly feel the pressure on him lessen. Don't make any more pointless struggles. It's meaningless. Take my raging sea wave fist. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny took a step forward, his hands clenched into fists. As the raging sea waves surged towards his fists, he roared and punched out. Terrifying fist shadows, every one of them a layer of waves. The 10-meter tall waves slammed towards Lei Lai, wanting to tear him apart. Kill, kill, kill. Lei Lai was unwilling to admit defeat, even though he knew that his strength was not enough in front of this terrifying raging sea waves. But he was an expert. He couldn't admit defeat so casually like others. The thunderclap, sword in his hand, pierced out even faster. Streaks of sword light continued to shatter those waves. Chapter 1982. Rumble. Finally, a wave slammed into Lei Lai's body. Lei Lai's body swayed, but he stood up resolutely. However, a wave came, followed by wave after wave of attacks. Lei Lai felt like a drowning human trying to swim out of the perilous waves. Unfortunately, he couldn't. I won't kill you. After all, I still need you to kill Ling Xiao. Tian Hai Tyranny's voice rang in Lei Lai's ears. Then Lei Lai felt his body being sent flying out of the arena by a terrifying force. Even if he didn't admit defeat now, he'd still lost. And he'd lost thoroughly. I hate it. Lei Lai's former glory and pride had been thoroughly shattered this time. He thought he could stand on equal footing with Tian Hai Tyranny. But Tian Hai Tyranny had shown him a cruel reality. He was far from being Tian Hai Tyranny's match. His Highness Tian Hai's crown prince is too astonishing. If that's the case, then he shouldn't have been just boasting. That's right. Besides Feng Fei, I'm afraid no one else can fight him. He's too strong. I can feel that this guy hasn't used his full strength yet. He's probably saving it for Feng Fei. The crowd was abuzz with discussion. No one paid any more attention to the loser Lei Lai, but focused on Tian Hai Tyranny. One of the White Tiger continent's unparalleled prides truly lived up to his name. How was it, Ling Xiao? Did you see his strength clearly? Sun Lingchan asked in a low voice. She was truly stunned. It looked like Tian Hai Tyranny had never used his full strength against her in the past. I didn't. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, This person is really a formidable opponent for me to fight for first place this time. I originally thought that he was on par with Lei Lai, and even if he was strong, he wouldn't be much stronger. However, it seems that there was a misunderstanding. This guy is at least a level stronger than Lei Lai. He won't be easy to fight. Ling Xiao was confident but not arrogant. Tian Hai Tyranny was truly too strong. After this battle, no one would doubt the strength of this crown prince of Tian Hai Empire. Top 3. It was absolutely certain. As for Lei Lai, even though he had lost to Heavenly Ocean Tyranny, he had displayed great strength. Whether or not he could enter the top 3 would depend on how he fought against the others. After the battle between Heavenly Ocean Tyranny and Ardent Thunder, Mu Wanshuang easily defeated Drunken Linglong. After that, it was another round of noobs pecking at each other. However, the audience was still having a good time watching. After all, sometimes noobs pecking at each other was just as exciting. At the end of this round, Ling Xiao, Cold Plum, Feng Fei, Tian Hai Tyranny, and Mu Wanchuang were still undefeated. In the next round, Ling Xiao directly chose Cold Plum. He had promised to give Lei Lai a round of rest, so he naturally wouldn't go back on his word. Cold Plum did not enter the arena. Instead, she directly admitted defeat. Feng Fei chose Long Qin. Because Long Qin hadn't fully recovered from his injuries and knew the difference in strength between the two of them, he chose to admit defeat. Tyranny Heavenly Wolf Young Master was chosen and easily defeated. Lei Lai might have been injured, but he still chose to fight Drunken Linglong. The two fought fiercely. Lei Lai fully displayed his terrifying strength. He could lose to Tyranny Heavenly Ocean, but he couldn't lose to Drunken Linglong. Even though Drunken Linglong was very powerful, after 120 moves, Drunken Linglong still chose to admit defeat. Lei Lai won this battle. When it came to Mu Wanchuang, she could only use green Hill Li Hua as a stepping stone. After that, it was another round of noobs pecking at each other. This round could be said to be uneventful. The truly exciting battle was the battle between Lei Lai and Zui Linglong. The audience was mesmerized by the scene. Have you rested well? A new round began, and Ling Xiao stepped onto the arena, his gaze cold as he looked at Lei Lai. Even if I haven't rested well, it's still very easy to deal with you. Lei Lai stood up and said, Master, just let him have one more round. I'll choose him this round and just admit defeat. I don't really care about the final rankings. Moreover, I really am not his match. Cold Plum understood Ling Xiao's intentions. He wanted Lei Lai to lose without any excuses. Thus, she planned to admit defeat this round as well. Fine. If that's the case, I'll choose Drunken Linglong. Ling Xiao looked at Drunken Linglong. Miss, you're too courteous. Thank you for your help before, but I won't hold back this time. If you hold back, I won't be willing. Drunken Linglong walked onto the stage and looked at Ling Xiao. But before we fight, can you promise me one thing? Speak. Ling Xiao nodded. If you can't defeat me within 120 moves, then give up on your life and death battle with Lei Lai and surrender early. There's someone who doesn't want you to die. Drunken Linglong said, Although I don't know who it is that doesn't want me to die, but I can promise you this. Ling Xiao nodded. If I still need 120 moves to defeat you, then I'll give up on my battle with Lei Lai. All right, it's a deal. Drunken Linglong's most terrifying aspect was her secret soul technique. As soon as she finished speaking, her eyes flashed with a strange black light. The guzheng in her hand started to play a fast-paced tune. A series of musical notes, wrapped in her powerful soul force, slammed into Ling Xiao. This soul attack is formless and traceless. It's the hardest to deal with. I wonder what Ling Xiao is going to do. Everyone was looking forward to this battle. After all, as long as Ling Xiao defeated Drunken Linglong, he would truly enter the top 5. They wanted to know what method Ling Xiao would use to fight Drunken Linglong, who was an expert in secret soul techniques. Tyrant! Ling Xiao suddenly took a step forward. A pitch-black figure appeared behind him. Only the pair of huge eyes made people tremble with fear. This was a variant of the tyrant martial spirit. It wouldn't expose the core information of the martial spirit. Therefore, Ling Xiao wasn't afraid that others would see that he had the mountain river martial spirit. In that instant, Drunken Linglong's face turned pale. She spat out a mouthful of blood and knelt on the ground. I lost. This scene was very similar to Ling Xiao's first battle with Jun Emoqing. Ling Xiao didn't even move. He only released a terrifying aura and forced his opponent to admit defeat. I didn't expect your soul force to be so powerful. It's even more terrifying than our soul clan's martial spirit. No wonder she couldn't forget you. I understand now. Drunken Linglong looked at Ling Xiao and sighed. The she you're talking about, could it be Ling Yixue? Ling Xiao asked. You actually still remember this name. She often told me that you might have forgotten her. Drunken Linglong laughed. How could I possibly forget? She was my closest friend when we were in Heaven Peak City, even though I didn't know what love was at that time. How could I possibly forget the feelings she had for me? Is she all right? Chapter 1983. Ling Xiao was a little excited. He had been searching for Ling Yishue's whereabouts all this time. When he went to the Nightman clan, he even thought he'd found her clan. However, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. At that time, it really made him feel very uncomfortable. Now that he finally had news of Ling Yishue, how could he not be excited? Don't worry, she's doing well. Not only that, but she's much stronger than before. You have to keep working hard, or else she'll leave you far behind. Drunken Linglong smiled. Of course, I think highly of you, especially after losing to you. I feel like you're the only one who's worthy of being her partner. Ling Xiao didn't speak. As long as Ling Yishue was doing well, he was at ease. Back in the Ling clan, only Ling Yishue and Ling Yihong treated him sincerely as a friend. The others were more or less just using each other. He'd never forget these two friends. Ling Xiao and Drunken Linglong returned to their seats. Cold Plum challenged Lei Lai and chose to forfeit. Feng Fei chose Green Hill Li Fire this round. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean chose Long Chin, but Long Chin still chose to concede, let alone being injured. Even if he wasn't injured, he couldn't even beat Lei Lai. How could he be Tyranny, Heavenly Ocean's opponent? Mu Wanchuang won easily as well, displaying a steady level of skill. After the chickens pecked at each other, a new round began. This time, when Ling Xiao stepped onto the stage, all eyes were on Lei Lai. Everyone was excited. Currently, the top 9 in everyone's hearts were Feng Fei, Tianhai Tyranny, Mu Wanchuang, Lei Lai, Ling Xiao, Drunken Linglong, Cold Plum, Long Chen, and Sir Heavenly Wolf. If Ling Xiao could defeat Lei Lai, then he'd move up a spot into the top 4. Moreover, Ling Xiao and Lei Lai had both defeated Drunken Linglong. Although Ling Xiao was obviously more relaxed, perhaps it was because he was too relaxed that many cultivators felt that Zue Linglong was going easy on him. Whether Lei Lai or Ling Xiao was stronger, this battle would reveal the truth. The Sword of Bloody Sun against the Sword of Thunderclap. It was a duel between swordsmanship experts. When the power of lightning met the power of fire, it was a clash between the two elements. This became the topic of discussion among the audience and the source of their excitement. Moreover, in the eyes of many, Ling Xiao would come up with some new tricks in almost every battle. Powerful defense, superb sword skills, terrifying soul force, mystical flame control. What other tricks does he have up his sleeves? Curiosity drove the audience to look forward to Ling Xiao's battle. It was as if every time Ling Xiao appeared, it would lead to an exciting moment. How far could Ling Xiao go? Would he stop at the top 5 or enter the top 4? Everything would be revealed in this battle. You've waited for 3 rounds. Your condition should be very good now, right? Ling Xiao looked at Lei Lai. His life and death battle with Lei Lai affected everyone's hearts and made them wait for a long time. This time, he couldn't let it drag on any longer. Of course I'm good. Lei Lai naturally wouldn't avoid the battle. From the moment he killed Long Chin, he was destined to fight Ling Xiao. Either you die or I live. You've waited for a long time. I've also waited for a long time. Do you think you're Heavenly Ocean Tyranny? Do you think you can win against me? Lei Lai jumped onto the stage. The terrifying Sword of Thunderclap appeared. Lightning flashed, and thunder bombarded the stage. It seemed that after experiencing a loss, Lei Lai wasn't discouraged. Instead, his battle strength seemed to be a bit stronger than when he met Heavenly Ocean Tyranny. If you're still using the same swordsmanship as before, then I'm sorry. This time, no matter what, you won't be able to win against my Sword of Thunderclap. Lei Lai looked coldly at Ling Xiao. His terrifying lightning battle intent poured into the Sword of Thunderclap. The Thunderclap sword was held in his hands, trembling crazily. It wasn't fear, but excitement. It was as if a wild beast had found its prey and was eager to pounce. A blade master didn't have to wield a sword. This was a kind of understanding of the martial path. It was said that the unconventional path of the sword was the perfect interpretation of a blade master. A blade master's entire life pursued a one-hit kill attack. Today, whether it was Ling Xiao or Lei Lai, they had both reached the realm of swordless. Swordless as swordless, everything under the heavens could be used to take people's lives. Ling Xiao's ice fury had been sealed. Not long ago, he had stepped from the heavy sword stage to the swordless stage. The elements in his hands condensed into sharp sword of light, sword of crimson blood, and sword of blood Sunday. They weren't real swords, but their power was sharper than any sword. Lei Lai was the same. The sword of thunderclap in his hands wasn't a real sword either. This type of sword had more variations, encompassing almost all of the 4 stages of a blade master. The sharp sword was merciless, the soft sword was formless, the heavy sword was edgeless, and the swordless was supreme. Feeling the rage and fighting spirit of the sword of thunderclap, the sword of blood sun in Ling Xiao's hands began to tremble crazily. A terrifying fighting spirit soared into the sky, dyeing the entire sky red. The sword of blood sun naturally wouldn't yield to the sword of thunderclap. It took the initiative to fight, wanting to have a showdown with the sword of thunderclap. This sword is simply a spirit. It seems that among all the warriors, only Ling Xiao has completely comprehended the inheritance of the Scarlet Sword General. It is said that when the Scarlet Sword General killed his enemies on the battlefield, the sword of blood sun in his hands would be the first to drink blood. It is even more ferocious and thirsty for slaughter than its master. Lei Lai's sword of thunderclap is also not weak. That fighting spirit is soaring, as if it wants to destroy everything between heaven and earth. It is really too terrifying. As of now, in the eyes of the audience, Ling Xiao and Lei Lai were obviously evenly matched. I said that you can't win against me with just this sword technique. If that's all you have, I can end this battle with one strike. Lei Lai wasn't dispirited after losing to Tian Hai Tyranny. Terrifying lightning jumped around his body. Behind him, a tiger-shaped thunderclap instantly formed. His body also entered the Tiger Man state. He wanted to defeat Ling Xiao in one strike. If he maintained his human form, he definitely wouldn't be able to do it. You're right. Right now, I am indeed not your opponent. However, what if my cultivation advances further? Hearing Ling Xiao's words, everyone was stunned. Ling Xiao's cultivation in Black Tortoise Temple had risen from Yin Yang Realm level 15 to Yin Yang Realm level 16. This had already shocked them. Could there be another breakthrough? Boom! Ling Xiao took a step forward. The terrifying aura actually forced the sword of thunderclap to retreat. Impossible! This is Yin Yang Realm level 17, and it is at its peak. How could this guy advance so quickly? This time, not only the audience, but even Xianming couldn't sit still. Chapter 1984. Ling Xiao displayed the strength of a peak 17th level Yin Yang Realm cultivator. This caused countless people to feel shocked, incomparable astonishment and disbelief. When Ling Xiao stepped into Black Tortoise Temple, he was only at the peak 15th level of Yin Yang Realm. In just 10 days, his cultivation had advanced continuously, reaching the peak of the 17th level of Yin Yang Realm. This speed was too shocking. What benefits did you get? Xianming gritted his teeth as he looked at Ling Xiao. There was only one explanation for the situation, and that was that Ling Xiao had received great benefits from the old palace master of Nine Heavens Palace. Otherwise, his cultivation wouldn't have advanced so quickly. Lei Lai was also stunned. He was clearly shocked, but he soon calmed down. Very good. You defeated a peak 18th level martial artist with your 16th level of Yin Yang Realm cultivation. Now that you're at the 17th level of Yin Yang Realm, you should be qualified to be my opponent. Then, even more terrifying lightning surged out of his body. The lightning on the thunderclap sword let out a real roar like a wild beast. just enough. Ling Xiao smiled and waved the bloody sun sword in his hand. Shocking bloody light scattered across the sky. Terrifying killing intent filled the entire space. Everyone stared at the stage where the energies collided. Many people's hearts were trembling. Terrifying sword intent. It could pierce through the 9 heavens and rush out of the mystic world. The sword energies hadn't even touched, but the sword intents had already begun to fight. This was the ultimate battle between swordsmen. The entire space seemed to have turned into a world of swords. It's coming. Many people swallowed their saliva at the same time, but they didn't want to blink. These 2 powerhouses were finally going to have a showdown. They didn't know if they could win or lose in a single move, but this exciting scene was enough to make them drunk. Although I lost to Heavenly Ocean Tyranny, I want to tell everyone that I, Lei Lai, haven't fallen. I'll become even stronger. My sword will never get rusty. This battle will announce the return of I, Lei Lai the King. Ling Xiao, you shall become the stepping stone for my resurrection. Lei Lai was suddenly filled with pride, as if killing Ling Xiao would allow him to take back everything he had lost. This included confidence, glory, and the dignity of a swordsman. As far as he was concerned, there was no suspense in this battle. He would definitely win, and Ling Xiao would definitely lose. I, Ling Xiao, will never be anyone's stepping stone. I have something to say to you. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean didn't treat you as an opponent, and neither did I. I only have one opponent, and that is Mu Wanshuang. Feng Fei wasn't qualified. Neither was Tianhai Tyranny. Only that woman is fit to be my final opponent. The moment Ling Xiao said this, everyone was stunned. These words sounded familiar. Tyranny Tianhai had said the same thing when he fought Lei Lai, but Tyranny Tianhai only cared about Feng Fei. However, Ling Xiao's opponent was Mu Wanshuang. Both of them were equally overbearing and arrogant, not putting other martial artists in their eyes. Do you think you're Tyranny Heavenly Ocean? Lei Lai roared. Terrifying lightning transformed into streaks of sword qi that shot towards Ling Xiao. He was angry, thoroughly angry. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean looked down on him. And now Ling Xiao looked down on him too. He wanted to let Ling Xiao, this idiot, know that he would have to pay a heavy price for underestimating him. The lightning sword qi was extremely terrifying. Each streak seemed to have the power to destroy everything in its path. It seemed to want to destroy everything in its path. This was his true, strongest attack. Before, he had said that the attack he used against Tyranny Heavenly Ocean was only slightly stronger, not the strongest. 10,000 lightning fury, sword strike. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Each streak of Lei Lai's sword qi was as large as the one he had used against Tyranny Heavenly Ocean. Although it was slightly weaker, any one of these streaks of sword qi was enough to kill a peak 18th level yin-yang realm martial artist. Right now, there were tens of thousands of streaks of sword qi, and Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the 17th level of yin-yang realm. How could he block it? Even if he could block one attack, could he block a second one? What? He didn't plan to block it? Everyone was shocked to see that Ling Xiao was still holding the Blood Sun sword and charging towards Lei Lai. He walked casually as if he didn't care about the tens of thousands of streaks of sword qi at all. This guy must be crazy. Does he want to die? Everyone looked at this scene in horror, and they all revealed astonished expressions. Ling Xiao's actions were abnormal. Did he really think that he could block Lei Lai's terrifying 10,000 lightning sword qi with just his physical body? Lei Lai also looked at Ling Xiao in shock. He didn't understand. What was this guy doing? Suicide? But looking at Ling Xiao's appearance, it didn't seem like he was going to commit suicide. Can your 10,000 streaks of sword qi compare to one of mine? Just as everyone was shocked by Ling Xiao's choice, Ling Xiao's lips curled into a cold smile. The Blood Sun sword in his hand stabbed towards Lei Lai's direction. Boom! At that moment, a sword light that resembled an exploding blood sun lit up the entire sky. The sky was already dark, but it was as bright as day now. However, this light was all blood red. That sword light was the blood sun in the sky. It was so dazzling. It was so majestic. With one sword strike, heaven and earth changed color, and all living things were frightened. The whistling sword chi instantly cut through the tens of thousands of streaks of sword chi. It seemed like nothing could go against him. Ling Xiao didn't dodge. He just directly attacked Lei Lai with his sword. However, Lei Lai didn't react at all. He had finally entered the proficient realm. Ling Xiao's Crimson Sun sword technique and Lei Lai's 10,000 lightning sword technique were obviously sword techniques of the same level. Whoever had a higher cultivation level would be more powerful. While Lei Lai's sword technique was still in the small success realm, Ling Xiao's sword technique had already entered the proficient realm. Everyone felt as if they were about to stop breathing. Ling Xiao had only comprehended the Crimson Sun sword technique for slightly more than 10 days, while others were still fumbling around between the beginner and small success realms. He had already entered the proficient realm. He was able to raise his cultivation level to the 17th level of the Yin-Yang realm and cultivate the Crimson Sun sword technique to the proficient realm. How could he have such terrifying comprehension? Could it be that this guy had some hidden strength? He must have. He hadn't released his martial soul until now. No wonder he dared to say that he didn't care about anyone other than Mu Wanchuang. His arrogance wasn't just a bluff. It sounded like the small success realm to the proficient realm was just an increase in cultivation level. However, in reality, the power of the moves was worlds apart. When a martial art reached the gold grade, it wasn't as simple as just following the steps. Chapter 1985. Sometimes, in the eyes of martial artists, leveling up a martial art was even more difficult than leveling up a martial art. As a result, the majority of martial artists would never train a martial art to the perfection realm. At most, they would reach the perfection realm, or even the great mastery realm. Most martial artists would only reach the mastery realm and then choose a new martial art. It wasn't that they didn't want to continue leveling up, but that leveling up was just too difficult. Beginner, small mastery, expert, great mastery, perfection, perfection realm. There were only a handful of people who had gone through all 6 stages before, and those who were familiar with it were few and far between. Beginner to small mastery wasn't much, but the difference between small mastery and mastery was too great. A small mastery realm move against a mastery realm move was like a wooden sword against an iron sword. If the two sides were similar in strength, then there was simply no way to make up for it. And now, Ling Xiao's unstoppable sword intent on the stage proved this point. An iron sword cutting a wooden sword was simply unstoppable. No matter how many sword chi you had, it was all meaningless. Ah! The moment the light of the snowy sun dimmed, a mournful scream came from the stage. Everyone stared at the stage with the help of the light. That scream clearly came from Lei Lai's mouth. Dead. He actually died just like that. To everyone's horror, Lei Lai's body had been split in two by this sword. This once proud son of heaven, the strongest and most outstanding genius of the White Tiger Empire. After his body had been split in two, his soul still maintained a brief moment of consciousness. Above his corpse, an illusory shadow looked at the scene below in disbelief. It was as if it still couldn't believe that he had been killed by Ling Xiao, and in such a simple manner at that. The air seemed to have solidified. No one even dared to breathe loudly. On the stage, all of the sword chi had already disappeared. Ling Xiao put away Blood Sun's sword and calmly stood there, coldly looking at the corpse on the ground. And the Lei Lai on the other side had died so miserably. This made it hard for people to believe. Was this the same genius martial artist with soaring aspirations and heroic spirit from just a moment ago? In an instant, Lei Lai, who had been willing to start anew, who had worked hard to find a way to defeat heavenly ocean tyranny, had become a corpse that couldn't speak. What a pity! The White Tiger continent's true apex genius had fallen just like that. This was reality. The Tiger King seemed to have aged a lot in an instant. The son that had made him excited and proud just now had died in Ling Xiao's hands just like that. This was his most outstanding son, yet he had died just like that. He was filled with hatred. Roar! A terrifying roar resounded throughout the entire Thunder City. The Tiger King had completely vented the anger in his heart with this roar. Wulong, Crown Princess, Fairy Qingqiu, Xiao Budian, and this Lei Lai. 5 top geniuses have already fallen at the hands of Ling Xiao. That's right. This doesn't even include Green Hill Li Hua, whose cultivation was crippled by Ling Xiao, or Heavenly Wolf Young Master, Silver Wolf Princess, and Drunken Ling Long, who were easily defeated by Ling Xiao. If we include them, Ling Xiao alone has defeated 9 of the 13 top geniuses. Lei Tun and Lei Meng have been killed, but they are definitely not Ling Xiao's match. If the 13 top geniuses want to regain face, they can only rely on the peerless twins. Everyone looked towards Feng Fei and Tianhai Tyranny. If these 2 couldn't stop Ling Xiao, then Ling Xiao would become the scariest dark horse of this year's White Tiger Meet. He would also be the most dazzling star of all. After defeating Lei Lai, Ling Xiao was guaranteed a spot in the top 4. This was something most people hadn't expected. Lei Lai, you shouldn't have continued to attack my brother Longqin after he admitted defeat. You made your choice, so you had to pay with your life. Ling Xiao turned and walked back to his seat. His cold voice seemed to tell everyone why he had killed Lei Lai without mercy. Lei Lai could defeat Longqin and even injure him, but he shouldn't have attacked him outside the rules. Ling Xiao had killed him for this very reason. Then you should be prepared to be killed after killing Lei Lai, right? The Tiger King's voice was like a wild beast's roar as it rumbled towards Ling Xiao. Of course, Ling Xiao looked up at the Tiger King. I've already prepared myself to be killed by you. But have you prepared yourself? He asked the Tiger King in return. What does your lordship need to prepare? The Tiger King didn't understand. If you make a move against me, that means you're completely opposing me and becoming my enemy. In that case, you should prepare yourself for the destruction of your White Tiger Empire. Moreover, I, Ling Xiao, am a vengeful person. When the time comes, I won't leave a single one of your White Tiger Empire's royalty alive. Even if I don't kill them, I'll make them my slaves for life. I hope you remember that. Ling Xiao's words were powerful and resonant. He didn't fear the Tiger King in the slightest. You dare threaten me? The Tiger King never expected Ling Xiao to threaten him. It's not a threat, just a reminder. If you understand me, then you should know what kind of person I am. Ling Xiao said simply. There's no need to investigate. Since you've said that, then your lordship will announce in front of everyone that my White Tiger Empire is declaring war with the Celestial Empire. I vow to destroy the Celestial Empire. How could the Tiger King be afraid of Ling Xiao? In the face of Ling Xiao's reminder, not only would he not admit defeat, he would become even angrier and more irritable. He wanted to completely vent his anger on Ling Xiao and the martial artists of the Celestial Empire. Xianming Yimei, those people have already been eliminated. Can I kill them? The Tiger King suddenly looked at Feng Ming Lian, Jiluayu Mou, and Zhu Xiaocong, who were with Hong Qi and the Liquor Demon Sword. N. Xianming nodded. Taoist Yimei didn't say anything, which could be considered as tacit consent. They would stop the Tiger King from killing Ling Xiao, but they wouldn't stop the Tiger King from killing those martial artists who had already been eliminated. Good. The Tiger King roared and stepped through the void. His terrifying tiger claws grabbed towards Ling Xiao's friends. Ah! However, what greeted the Tiger King was a sword light that could split the sky. The Tiger King let out a cry that was even more miserable than Lei Lai's. His right arm had been directly chopped off. The Liquor Demon Sword attacked. He wasn't Xianming's opponent, but he was stronger than the Tiger King. In addition, it was a sudden attack, so it was normal for the Tiger King to be injured. Who are you? The Tiger King roared angrily from his bleeding wound. Liquor Demon's Sword. The Liquor Demon's Sword replied faintly, "Although I have no enmity with your White Tiger Empire, unfortunately the people you want to kill are the people I want to protect. Today, I cut off your arm to remind you that your White Tiger Empire hasn't reached the stage where you can run amok. Okay, I'll remember you." The Tiger King didn't attack again. Instead, he went to the side and began to heal. Chapter 1986. Tiger King tried to reattach his severed arm. However, when he reattached his arm to his shoulder, he threw it away in fear. "You want to heal the place that was cut by my Liquor Demon's sword? Tiger King, aren't you a little too ignorant? I already said that this severed arm is a lesson." The Liquor Demon's sword coldly glanced at the Tiger King. He had to appear even more domineering. Otherwise, regardless of whether it was a cat or a dog, they would come looking for trouble with Ling Xiao. Damn it! Tiger King roared angrily, but it was useless. The only thing he could do was stop the bleeding. He knew that his enemies weren't any less than Ling Xiao's. He used to run amok and offended many people on the White Tiger continent. If he really lost too much blood, he wouldn't be able to return to the White Tiger Empire alive. These two are really ruthless. One killed Lei Lai, and the other crippled Tiger King's arm. Good fellow, they've completely suppressed the White Tiger Empire. Looks like we really can't underestimate this newly risen Celestial Empire. To most of the audience, the Celestial Empire was a place that couldn't be any stranger. They didn't even bother to find out where this country was. In their eyes, this was a weak country that couldn't be any weaker. However, today they felt that they had to reevaluate this rising star. This country couldn't be underestimated if it could even suppress the White Tiger Empire. "Cold Plum, it's your turn." Suddenly, Lawless's voice woke everyone up from their thoughts. Although Ling Xiao defeated Lei Lai in a shocking way, this wasn't the end of the White Tiger meet. The meet would continue until the final ranking was decided. Cold Plum nodded and stepped onto the stage. She looked at Long Chen and said, "How are you? Have you recovered from your injuries?" Although they were from the same family, Cold Plum and Long Chen's battle was unavoidable. These two had to compete to see who was better. Who was Ling Xiao's strongest assistant? "It's done." Long Chen stood up and jumped onto the arena with a smile. He said, "Elder sister Cold Plum, let's decide the victor in one move. Otherwise, if the battle drags on for too long, both of us will be exhausted." Sure, neither Cold Plum nor Long Chen would admit defeat in front of the other. They could admit defeat to Ling Xiao, but since they were equally matched in strength, they had to confirm it first. Therefore, the moment they stepped onto the stage, the two of them unleashed their full combat strength at almost the same time. Cold Plum's black wings unfurled, and the cold blade emitted a murderous aura. Long Chen transformed into a huge dragon. Golden light flickered as he released a terrifying dragon aura. "Fight!" The two of them roared almost at the same time. Then they released what they believed to be their most powerful moves and passed each other on the arena. "I lost." Cold Plum sighed. Long Chen's skin was too thick. She could injure the Heavenly Wolf Prince with the same move, but she couldn't injure Long Chen at all. "Elder sister Cold Plum, don't sigh. I was just lucky to win against you by half a move. The key is that you haven't completely mastered the Black Feathermen's inheritance. Otherwise, I really wouldn't be your match." After Long Chen's battle with Lei Lai, the potential of the Dragon Clan was unleashed once again. Moreover, his cultivation had finally advanced to the early stage of the Yin Yang realm. Although his cultivation was still a little weaker than Ling Xiao and Cold Plum's, it was still very powerful. However, his control of the Dragon Clan's divine power had become more adept. If he were to fight with Lei Lai again, the result would be hard to say. From the looks of it, Long Chen should be more powerful than Cold Plum. However, the two of them seemed to be improving after every battle. It's hard to say who's stronger until the end. The closer it was to the end, the more people understood the combat strength of the top 9 people. Naturally, the Heavenly Wolf Gentleman was ranked last. Cold Medium, Long Chin, and Drunken Linglong hadn't fought yet, so it wasn't clear. But Feng Fei, Tian Hai Tyranny, Lei Lai, Muan Shuang, and Ling Xiao were definitely stronger. Now that Lei Lai had been killed by Ling Xiao, the 9 people had become 8, but the rankings hadn't changed much. Unless Ling Xiao could defeat Feng Fei, Tian Hai Tyranny, or Mu Wanshuang, it was hard to tell. I think Ling Xiao will definitely challenge Mu Wanshuang in his next battle. In any case, he won't be able to beat Feng Fei and Tian Hai Tyranny. Even now, Ling Xiao had already displayed his strength. But in the eyes of the majority of the audience, Feng Fei and Tian Hai Tyranny were still the strongest. Only those 2 were worthy of being in the top 2. Ling Xiao and Mu Wanshuang could only fight for 3rd place. After Cold Plum and Long Chen's battle, the battle continued. Next, Feng Fei had 2 choices, one against Tian Hai Tyranny, the other against Mu Wanshuang. A battle between the strong was unavoidable. He'll definitely choose Mu Wanshuang. Although Mu Wanshuang's performance is strong, she's still weaker than Tian Hai Tyranny. Feng Fei won't rashly choose Tian Hai Tyranny as his opponent, right? Sun Lingchan stood by Ling Xiao's side and analyzed. No, Ling Xiao shook his head. I'm 100% certain that he'll choose Tian Hai Tyranny. Why? Sun Lingchan didn't understand. Long Chen, Cold Plum, and the others didn't understand either. Logically speaking, this wasn't normal. I have an idea, but I can't say it now. Otherwise, it'll be boring. Just watch. This White Tiger Meets Matches will definitely surprise you all. Ling Xiao smiled, but didn't answer their questions. Sun Lingchan wanted to ask more, but Feng Fei had already called out a name, Tian Hai Tyranny. Heavens, he's really chosen Tian Hai Tyranny. This is going to be fun. Sun Lingchan looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. She really didn't understand how Ling Xiao could predict Feng Fei's choice. It wasn't just her, but the audience was even more surprised. Logically speaking, Feng Fei should have chosen Mu Wanshuang for the sake of safety. I knew you'd choose me. Tian Hai Tyranny didn't seem surprised. He stood up coldly and stepped onto the stage. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that the final battle in their hearts would come early. Almost 90% of the audience thought that Tian Hai Tyranny and Feng Fei were the first and second choices. Their battle should have been left for last. Who would have thought that it would start now? The peerless duo, a man and a woman. One was Zhengyi School's strongest genius. The other was Tian Hai Empire's crown prince. Both of them had risen like comets since their debut. Despite their young age, their names had already resounded throughout the White Tiger continent. Almost everyone knew them. Today, we'll finally decide a victor. This is what you've been waiting for, right? Chapter 1987. Fight me to the end? You're not worthy. Tian Hai Tyranny looked coldly at Feng Fei, a hint of anger appearing on his face. His words puzzled the crowd. Hadn't Tian Hai Tyranny always wanted to fight Feng Fei? Didn't he value Feng Fei the most? Why did it feel like he was being insulted now? Was he being looked down upon? Worthy or not, it's not up to you to decide. No matter what you're unhappy about, only the winner of this battle has the right to fight the strongest. Isn't that right? Feng Fei smiled. You're right, but unfortunately you're no match for me. I'll make you understand in this battle that my Tian Hai Tyranny's reputation as a genius isn't just for show. Tian Hai Tyranny laughed coldly. If I can easily defeat Lei Lai, I can easily defeat you too. Is that so? Feng Fei said no more. His jade-like hands gently raised, releasing a surge of righteous energy from his body. This righteous energy was the essence of the Zhengyi School. The Zhengyi School cultivated righteous energy to destroy evil spirits. Only the most talented disciples had the right to condense this pure righteous energy. Sensing Feng Fei's aura, everyone grew solemn. This righteous qi made the demons in the depths of one's heart hide in fear. It could turn them into a true gentleman. Humph! Tian Hai Tyranny gave a cold snort, suddenly releasing a terrifying and evil aura. It was actually devilish chi. Devilish chi roiled around his body, corroding and devouring the righteous energy as soon as it touched it. Reality isn't an ideal. There's no such thing as righteousness triumphing over evil. Today you'll lose for sure. Tian Hai Tyranny didn't hide his devilish chi in front of Feng Fei. Ling Xiao had a good understanding of him. Tian Hai Tyranny had colluded with the Night Devil King underground and cultivated many of the Celestial Devil's evil arts. In Ling Xiao's eyes, the mysterious Celestial Devil sect leader was also Tian Hai Tyranny. Of course, he had only speculated before without any concrete evidence. But today, when Tyranny Heavenly Ocean released that boundless demonic aura, he completely understood. This person was definitely the leader of the evil demons. He had probably obtained even more demonic chi from the night demons than the Tian Hai King. Everyone has the right to punish evil. Today, your devilish chi shall be destroyed by my righteous chi. Feng Fei actually made the first move. His right foot took a step forward, and his figure vanished. A pure white sword instantly appeared in his hand. Sword chi swallowed and spat out. A pure and overwhelming righteous energy shot out from the tip of the sword towards tyrannical heavenly ocean. I've said it before, justice will inevitably be destroyed by evil in reality. Your overwhelming righteous energy will be devoured by my devilish chi. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean stood firmly on the ground. Endless demonic energy poured out from the ground. The terrifying demonic chi actually spread from the battle ring to below the battle ring. Suddenly, a martial artist near the stage clutched his head and stood up in fright. His eyes were filled with rage and fear. His eyes were bloodshot as his body began to distort. Then his blood chi was sucked into tyrannical Heavenly Ocean's body by the demonic chi. If you don't want to die, then scram. Tyrannical Heavenly Ocean said coldly, "Run, hurry and run." The martial artists closest to Thunderclap City's arena originally thought that they had chosen a good spot to enjoy the White Tiger Meets battles. However, at this very moment, no one had such thoughts. The demonic chi had already swallowed up 4 or 5 people's lives. The others had long been scared out of their wits by this terrifying demonic chi. In just a few moments, there was not a single martial artist within 100 meters of Thunderclap City. Even the grass and plants had withered until they turned black, giving off an incomparably evil aura. This demonic chi is truly terrifying. If Heavenly Ocean Tyranny had used demonic chi against Lei Lai might have lost even faster. The contestants around the stage had long been protected. After all, no matter how strong the demonic chi was, it couldn't penetrate a rebirth realm martial artist's barrier of origin energy. These contestants were all treasures. They couldn't be lost because of an accident. Even if they were killed, it had to be on the stage. Sun Lingchan was also protected by the demonic chi as he said those words with apprehension. That's not necessarily true. Ling Xiao shook his head. Don't forget, Lei Lai has the White Tiger bloodline. He's skilled in lightning, and lightning is very effective against this demonic chi. Tyrannical Heavenly Ocean didn't choose to use the demonic chi, not because he was holding back, but because he couldn't. This person is truly calm and terrifying. He's much more powerful than I imagined. Now that you mention it, it's true. I'm afraid only Lei Lai's lightning, your fire, and Feng Fei's overwhelming righteousness can resist tyrannical Heavenly Ocean's demonic chi, right? Sun Lingchan said. Lightning and fire do indeed counter demonic chi, but overwhelming righteousness isn't the same. It and demonic chi counter each other. As for which is stronger, it depends on the strength of the two sides. Ling Xiao shook his head. On the stage, the two hadn't even made any physical contact. Only the pure and holy overwhelming righteousness and the evil demonic chi each occupied half of the stage. One side was black, the other white, constantly nibbling away at each other. Looking at this scene, the audience was obviously shocked. This is the true ultimate battle. What a pity it came early. After watching this battle, how are we going to watch the rest of the battles? Everyone revered this power. They also admired it. They always thought that the top battles should be left for last. If it came too early, the audience's excitement would be aroused. If the following battles weren't exciting enough, they wouldn't even be interested in watching. Rumble! Terrifying explosions rang out in the air. The devilish Chi and the righteous Chi rose as if they had transformed into two giant beasts that occupied the sky. They fought each other to the death, neither willing to back down a single step. A pair of peerless geniuses. They really are a pair of peerless geniuses. People sighed with emotion. Before, they thought that Ling Xiao had killed Lei Lai, but there was no way to prove who was stronger between Feng Fei and Lei Lai. But now it seemed that Feng Fei was stronger than Lei Lai. There was no doubt about it. If it was Lei Lai, he wouldn't have been able to last so long against tyrannical heavenly ocean without taking a single injury. Of course, those with discerning eyes could see that Feng Fei's overwhelming righteousness was gradually losing ground. Tyrannical heavenly ocean's demonic Qi was simply too strong. It was constantly nibbling away at Feng Fei's territory. It wouldn't be long before tyrannical heavenly ocean defeated Feng Fei in the most effortless way possible. Of course, that was assuming Feng Fei had no other tricks up his sleeve. Chapter 1988. The crowd was still waiting to see if Feng Fei still had other trump cards up his sleeve. For example, her martial soul. Heaven and earth have righteous Qi. All things are manifold. Below are rivers and mountains. Above are the sun and stars. Feng Fei didn't activate her martial soul, but began to chant a resonant battle song. Then, her righteous Qi manifested the image of the sun, stars, and mountains. It was as if her righteous Qi was the only thing existing between heaven and earth. The terrifying righteous Qi surged out in a frenzy, reversing much of her original disadvantage. The sun, moon, stars, mountains, and rivers continued to crush her, pushing back Tianhai Tyranny's devilish Qi. What miraculous martial arts! This Feng Fei really isn't simple. No wonder he's one of the peerless twins. It looks like he lives up to his reputation. The crowd watched in pleasant surprise. If Feng Fei lost to Tianhai Tyranny too early, then it would be too boring. A battle between the peerless twins should be like this, back and forth, evenly matched. But in the next instant, they realized they were wrong. As Feng Fei's righteous Qi grew stronger, so did Tianhai Tyranny's devilish Qi. Currently, Tianhai Tyranny's face was malevolent and terrifying, like a celestial demon. Boundless devilish Qi surged from his body, transforming into numerous demons that attacked the righteous Qi. Once again, Feng Fei was suppressed. This was Tianhai Tyranny, powerful and insufferably arrogant. No matter who it was, they couldn't take advantage of him. Sun, moon, stars, mountains, rivers, grant me the righteous Qi of heaven and earth. Condense it into a sword. Although Feng Fei's expression was still indifferent, it was obvious that he'd been pushed to his limits. She had no choice but to change her moves. Suddenly, the sun, moon, stars, mountains, rivers, and mountains vanished, to be replaced by the holy sword in her hand that emitted a resplendent white light. Righteous Qi of heaven and earth sword, exterminate the devil. Feng Fei shouted angrily, the sword in his hand stabbing towards Tianhai Tyranny. The sword seemed to condense the power of the sun, moon, stars, mountains, rivers, and rivers, making for a terrifying sight. At the very least, apart from Mu Wanshuang and Ling Xiao, no one else thought that they would be able to block this attack. Their bodies and souls would vanish before such a terrifying sword. This Feng Fei was simply too strong. Unfortunately, they met Tyranny Heavenly Ocean. Demonic Qi can destroy the heavens and the earth. So what if you have the sun, the stars, and the rivers? I will destroy them for you to see. Tyranny Heavenly Seas coldly shouted. His body tilted forward slightly. Demonic energy transformed into a demonic creature that rushed out from his body. Then it roared and charged towards the righteous, sword of heaven and earth. One black and one white, they were so conspicuous in the sky that everyone could see them clearly. The crazy devilish chi almost made everything between heaven and earth become evil, filled with terrifying killing intent. Boom, boom! Shocking and frightening sounds of collisions continued to ring out in the arena. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean's devil chi seemed endless, constantly whittling away at the righteous sword of heaven and earth. The boundless righteous energy was quickly devoured and transformed. It actually merged with the baleful devilish energy, becoming terrifyingly evil. Demonic chi could destroy the world. This was what Tyranny Tianhai had said, and he had done it. Devilish chi shrouded his body, and an evil aura completely enveloped him. Right now, he was like the devil of heaven and earth, ready to destroy all righteousness. This is too strong. How could Tyranny Heavenly Seas have such powerful devilish chi? Could it be that he's a demon? Everyone looked at Tyranny Heavenly Seas in horror. It was hard to imagine that he was a descendant of the divine crocodile clan. After all, in ancient times, the divine crocodile clan was one of the divine beasts that guarded the profound world. But now, the divine crocodile clan's bloodline had turned into an evil black within Tyranny Heavenly Seas' body, transforming into a terrifying destructive force. Boom! Crack! Finally, the righteous sword of heaven and earth was smashed to pieces by the baleful, devilish energy. The boundless righteous energy was instantly compressed into Feng Fei's body. Feng Fei's face was ashen white. Her body swayed as blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. In the end, she was still injured. Although she was at a disadvantage against Tyranny Heavenly Seas before, she was still able to keep herself unharmed. But this time, she couldn't even protect herself, much less the people of the world. A piece of trash like you dares to speak of enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens and protecting the common people? Today, I'll tear apart your righteous energy once and for all. Tyranny Heavenly Seas looked coldly at Feng Fei, his expression fierce and domineering. It was as if he was the only one in the world. Tyranny Heavenly Seas, you're strong as expected. It looks like I won't be able to defeat you without using my final trump card. Feng Fei wiped the blood from her lips and smiled. But once I use my trump card, I won't be able to guarantee your life. As she spoke, an illusory figure appeared behind her. It was a young girl draped in a pure white cloak. This was probably Feng Fei's martial soul. But many people still couldn't understand why Feng Fei didn't use the divine phoenix bloodline. Why did he use such a strange martial soul instead? Just what was this martial soul? The crowd discussed amongst themselves, perplexed. But the illusory figure had already begun to chant. Abruptly, it transformed into a ray of white light that shot into the skies before disappearing. After a while, the sky that had already turned completely dark was filled with an incomparably holy white light, illuminating the world. Thunder rumbled as a terrifying force descended from the skies. Tyranny Heavenly Seas, take this. This is the judgment of the world's righteous energy, ultimate judgment. Rumble, rumble. The terrifying sound continued to ring out, and many people's faces were filled with terror. What a terrifying pressure! It felt like it could crush a person's body to pieces. The attack hadn't even appeared yet, but it was already like this. Could Tyranny Heavenly Seas really block such a terrifying attack? Tyranny Heavenly Seas raised his head to look at the skies. The devilish chi that enveloped his body was constantly being compressed and annihilated. This was the first time he'd been suppressed so miserably. But Tyranny Heavenly Seas didn't show a trace of fear. He only stared coldly at the skies. No matter what attack it was, Tyranny Heavenly Seas wouldn't fear it. Fall, Tyranny Heavenly Seas! Following Feng Fei's roar, a ray of white light descended from the skies. This white light had a diameter of more than 10 meters. It instantly fell onto the stage and slammed into Heavenly Sea Tyranny. Feng Fei's lips finally curved into a victorious smile. It's over. Her indifferent expression finally blossomed into a smile like a flower. No way. Tyranny Heavenly Seas died just like that. No one wanted to see such an ending. How could the mighty tyranny Heavenly Seas lose so cleanly? Was this still the crown prince of Tianhai Empire? Was this still the domineering tyranny Heavenly Seas from before? Chapter 1989. Feng Fei's white light was too frightening. Judging by its power, it was enough to kill a single life-sizer. Even a double, triple, or quadruple life-sizer would be blasted to smithereens by this attack. It was much stronger than Lei Lai's attack. Tianhai tyranny, it's a worthy death for you to die by my hands. When the white light faded, the crowd saw Tianhai tyranny's charred corpse on the ground. He really was dead. Feng Fei looked at the corpse as he spoke, his eyes filled with excitement. Below the stage, Mu Wanchuang was a little disappointed. Ling Xiao was feeling bored as well. If Tianhai tyranny really died like this, then he'd be letting down all his worries. Hurry and look at the stage. What's going on? A voice suddenly rose from the crowd. Everyone looked towards the stage in shock. Only then did they realize that the charred corpse had suddenly stood up. Then endless black qi poured in from the surroundings, restoring the corpse back to its original form. I have to admit that your attack is indeed powerful. Your martial soul is too shocking. But I've also told everyone that Tyranny Heavenly Seas has more than one type of martial soul, or even two. The terrifying, evil voice from the charred corpse seemed to grow even more evil. Hearing this, Feng Fei's face lost its calm. His smile vanished, replaced by fear. Below the stage, Mu Wanchuang revealed a satisfied smile. It was as if this was the true, tyrannical, Heavenly Seas ambition. He'd been blasted into a charred corpse, but he could still come back to life. In the past, no one would have believed such a thing. Although yin-yang realm martial artists had strong regenerative abilities, they couldn't be revived if they really died. Even a rebirth realm martial artist couldn't recover from such serious injuries, much less a yin-yang realm martial artist. But Tianhai tyranny had done it, and in front of everyone. There was no way it could be a lie. Seeing this, Feng Fei seemed to have lost all will to fight. If such an attack couldn't kill his opponent, even a martial artist like Feng Fei would be filled with fear. Her heart began to race against her will. Her eyes were filled with confusion and bewilderment. Lose! Tianhai tyranny reached out his right hand. Terrifying demonic qi coalesced into a giant black hand that grabbed at Feng Fei. Terrifying and vast amounts of fiendish demon qi spilled out of him and slammed into Feng Fei's body. Although Feng Fei did his best to resist, his body couldn't stop trembling. Fresh blood trickled from the corners of his mouth as his face turned ghastly pale. I admit defeat. Finally, Feng Fei cried out before the hand could touch him. Admit defeat? Almost all of the audience widened their eyes in disappointment. They assumed that Feng Fei had more tricks up his sleeve, but never expected him to admit defeat here. This was simply inconceivable to them. You are very smart. If you don't admit defeat, you will definitely die in this battle. Tianhai tyranny didn't kill Feng Fei because there was no need. Leaving Feng Fei to snipe other martial artists would be advantageous for him as well. The battle was over. Tianhai tyranny had won in a domineering manner, while Feng Fei had lost miserably. Actually, from the moment Feng Fei's strongest attack failed to kill Tianhai tyranny, the result was already set in stone. But there was still one question lingering in everyone's minds. How did Tianhai tyranny come back from the dead? Why wasn't he killed by Feng Fei's ultimate verdict? Just what kind of terrifying martial soul did he have? By now, Tianhai tyranny had almost fully recovered. Only a small part of his body had yet to recover from the ultimate verdict. However, even with that being the case, his recovery speed was simply too terrifying. It defied common sense. Thus, it had to be his martial soul. No one could think of any other explanation. Just what is your martial soul? Feng Fei looked at Tianhai Tyranny. Although she had admitted defeat, she didn't leave the stage immediately. Instead, she looked at Tianhai Tyranny as if hoping to know the truth. No matter what my martial soul is, you've already lost. Why ask? Unless you want to help someone else ask. Tianhai Tyranny looked coldly at Feng Fei. I admit that you're very strong, much stronger than I imagined. That ultimate verdict nearly cost me my life on this stage. I had no choice but to use this martial soul I didn't want to use in the first place. But you still don't have the right to be my opponent. Feng Fei, are you still not going to show yourself? I've already defeated your servant girl. Now I have the right to fight you, right? He suddenly looked below the stage and shouted at the crowd. Hearing this, most of the people were stunned. What was going on? Wasn't Feng Fei on the stage? Had Tianhai Tyranny been struck dumb by the ultimate verdict? She's not Feng Fei. The Tianhai Sovereign King laughed coldly. Although she's very strong and has always been playing the role of Feng Fei, my son might not have known. Perhaps you don't know, but my son once fought with the real Feng Fei. That person was even stronger than her. What? The Tianhai King's words instantly left everyone dumbfounded. Such a strong martial artist was only Feng Fei's servant girl? Was that even possible? Although she'd lost to Tianhai Tyranny, she wasn't weak at all. In fact, she was ridiculously strong. Hee, you actually saw through me. Feng Fei suddenly laughed. It's been so many years. I've always been my master's shadow, fighting and killing on her behalf. I thought my disguise was flawless, but you still saw through me. No wonder you're Tianhai Tyranny. My name is Feng Ying. As for my master, she's always been in the 10,000 lightning extreme grounds. It's a pity that you couldn't see through her despite your strength. Feng Ying. Although they'd already believed the Tianhai Sovereign King and Tianhai Tyranny's words, Feng Ying's own admission convinced them that this strong woman was only Feng Fei's servant girl. That was too frightening. If a servant girl was so strong, then how frightening would the real Feng Fei be? Since she's here, then I'll take first place at the White Tiger meet and fight her again. Tianhai Tyranny laughed coldly. You asked me what martial soul I used just then. I can tell you now. My martial soul is nothing more than the unremarkable water bear martial soul. Water bear martial soul? Many people were baffled when they heard about this martial spirit, because this martial spirit was indeed too inconspicuous. It could not even attract people's attention. But the truly knowledgeable martial artists couldn't help but pale at the mention of this martial soul. Big bro, you know this martial soul? Long Chin asked when he saw Ling Xiao crease his eyebrows. Sun Ling Chan and the rest looked towards Ling Xiao as well. They knew that Ling Xiao had read a lot of books, so he definitely knew. Chapter 1990. Big bro, you've heard of the water bear spirit? Long Chin asked. Ling Xiao nodded. The water bear spirit is one of the most tenacious life forms in the mystic world. A martial spirit formed from such a creature will also give its user a tenacious life force. In other words, no matter how you attack it, as long as you can't kill it completely, it'll be able to revive itself. Not only that, but harsh conditions such as high temperature and cold can't stop the water bear spirit from reviving. A martial artist with the water bear spirit is equivalent to cultivating the terrifying immortal deity arts. As long as a single cell survives, it'll be able to revive itself. Such a person shouldn't be provoked. Even rebirth realm cultivators have a hard time killing it, to say nothing of yin-yang realm experts. No matter who he faces, he's basically undefeatable. How can there be such a terrifying martial spirit? Is there really no way to deal with it? Long Chin asked in alarm. This water bear spirit was just a worm. But why did it feel like it had more tenacious life force than a dragon? Seal it or refine it directly, Ling Xiao replied. But to do that, you'll have to defeat it first. Otherwise, it'll be very troublesome. I understand. If that's the case, then it's normal for me to lose. Feng Ying laughed bitterly. But if you only rely on this martial spirit, you're definitely not my master's match, she added, then turned and walked to her seat. If Feng Fei dares to fight me, I'll show him my true skills. Tianhai Tyranny replied domineeringly before returning to his seat. Hearing his words, the crowd couldn't help but guess that this fellow had other terrifying abilities. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such words. In other words, Feng Fei didn't come to the White Tiger meet? If that's the case, then the quality of the event is really lacking. The crowd looked disappointed. They wanted to see a showdown between the two peerless geniuses. Although Feng Ying was strong, she wasn't Feng Fei. She'd never replace him, either. Who told you that she didn't come to the White Tiger meet? Fan Ruohai suddenly laughed coldly. The eldest son of the Fan family was unfathomable. If he wasn't over 30 years old, he might have become one of the strongest in this year's White Tiger Store meet. His strength might not be any weaker than Heavenly Sea Tyranny's, perhaps even a bit stronger. She participated, but why didn't we see it? The audience was confused. However, Tyranny Heavenly Ocean and Ling Xiao simultaneously looked towards Mu Wanshuang. Since Fan Ruohai said that Feng Fei had attended the White Tiger meet, then no one else but Mu Wanshuang could have done so. As expected, you've noticed it long ago. Mu Wanshuang looked at Fan Ruohai and smiled gently. As the #1 genius of the Jingyi school, and known as the Saintess of the Jingyi school, you actually compromised and worked as a servant for me, Fan Ruohai, for several years. You just want to get the ingredients for our Fan family's samsara soup. Why bother? If you ask me directly, I won't refuse. You just have to pay a small price. Fan Ruohai looked at Mu Wanshuang and sneered. By now, Ling Zhao's heart was clear as day. No wonder he felt that Mu Wanshuang and Fan Ruohai were scheming against each other the first time he saw them. Moreover, they were both terrifying. It looked like that was the case today. If you put it that way, then I'm the one in the wrong. Mu Wanshuang smiled. Then, if I ask the gentleman now, will you give it to me? Of course not, Fan Ruohai said loudly. But I have an interesting idea. If anyone can take first place at the White Tiger Store meet, our Fan family's samsara soup ingredients will be given to them for free. Samsara soup can help life seizers succeed and even help them ascend to the rebirth realm. It's not a pill, but it's much safer. You can eat it every day, as long as you can afford the ingredients and make it. Mu Wanshuang. Oh no, it should be Feng Fei. Feng Fei knitted his brows. What benefits does this bring to your Fan clan? Benefits? Naturally, it's to invest in the future. I believe that the champion of the White Tiger Storm meet will be a martial artist, blessed by the heavens. If we give him such benefits, he'll protect our Fan clan in the future, right? Fan Ruohai grinned. All right, then I can tell you now, I'll definitely take first place at the White Tiger Storm meet today. Feng Fei chuckled and walked out of the Tianhai Empire camp to join the Jingyi sect camp. Now, the Jingyi sect had taken 3 of the top 8 spots. Feng Ying, Feng Fei, and Zui Linglong. The only ones who could compare to them were Ling Xiao, Lung Mei, and Long Qin from the Celestial Empire. Of the remaining 2, one was Tianhai Tyranny of the Tianhai Empire. The other was Sir Heavenly Wolf of the Full Moon Empire. Feng Fei had become Feng Ying. Mu Wanshuang had become Feng Fei. Fan Ruohai had used the samsara soup as a reward for the champion of the White Tiger Storm meet. All 3 of these events were shocking news, but in the end, they were nothing more than a small interlude. The battles were still ongoing. Feng Fei, who had just recovered his identity, easily won his battle. After that, the chickens continued to peck at each other. Outside of the top 8, the rankings gradually became clear. Dan Feng, Silver Wolf Princess, Jun Macho, Sun Lingchan, Jun Maching, Blue Snow, Hongyu, and Qingqiu Lihua. If nothing unexpected happened, this would be outside of the top 8. It had to be said that the Celestial Empire had reaped a great harvest this time. Besides Ling Xiao, Cold Plum, and Long Qin, there was still Dan Feng among the top 10. Although this was because Lei Lai, Xiao Budian, and the rest had been killed, Dan Feng's strength had risen in battle after battle. He hadn't lost face for the 9th place. Of course, the audience didn't care about that. After Mu Wanchuang's true identity was exposed, the audience was both shocked and excited, because they could still see the classic battle between the two peerless geniuses, Feng Fei and Tianhai Tyranny. This battle would definitely be the final battle between the two of them. They were looking forward to it. Amidst their excitement, the battles moved on to the next round. At this moment, seeing Ling Xiao slowly walk up the arena, the crowd became excited once again. No matter how many changes had occurred, Ling Xiao was now considered to be in 4th place. Tianhai Tyranny was temporarily ranked 1st. After all, he had the water bear martial spirit and defeated Phoenix Shadow, displaying his unparalleled strength. Feng Fei, who was impersonating Mu Wanchuang, was ranked 2nd. Although she was the master of Phoenix Shadow, she should be very strong in theory, but she hadn't been tested in a real battle yet. Phoenix Shadow was ranked 3rd. Although she had lost to Tianhai Tyranny, the terrifying strength she had displayed was something that Ling Xiao couldn't compare to. These were the only opponents that Ling Xiao hadn't faced yet. Chapter 1991. No matter who Ling Xiao chose, this would be a spectacular battle between the strong. Moreover, the two dark horses had turned into one. Mu Wanchuang was actually Feng Fei, so she wasn't a dark horse at all. Although Feng Ying was Feng Fei's servant girl, her status in the Jingyi school wasn't low either. Moreover, she was very strong to begin with, so she wasn't a dark horse either. So now, the only one who was still in the dark was Ling Xiao. At the start of this round, Ling Xiao still had not tasted defeat. This was truly shocking. His performance had far exceeded everyone's expectations. "I'll choose you. You're called Feng Ying, right?" Ling Xiao said to Feng Ying. "That's right, I'm called Feng Ying." Feng Ying slowly rose to her feet. Actually, meeting Ling Xiao in this round wasn't a surprise at all. Ling Xiao wouldn't choose Feng Fei or Tianhai Tyranny so quickly. Those two had to be the strongest. That was what Feng Ying believed. "Do you know why I chose you and not them?" Ling Xiao suddenly asked. "Why?" Feng Ying asked after a pause. "Because ever since you came to the 10,000 lightning desolate grounds, you've never looked me in the eye." Ling Xiao chuckled. "Although that's your choice, and I can't say anything, I'm really curious. Just what makes you so confident?" "Because you're not worthy of my gaze. I'll say something you don't like to hear, but from the moment I joined the White Tiger meet, I knew I only had two opponents. One was my master, Feng Fei. The other was Tianhai Tyranny." Feng Ying looked at Ling Xiao disdainfully, her attitude as cold as a proud hen. Someone who lost to that trash Tianhai Tyranny still dares to be so arrogant. "I really don't know where your courage lies." Ling Xiao's words cursed both of them. "This guy is still so arrogant. Even Tianhai Tyranny is trash now? Hee, forgive this ignorant person. He can't see how strong that Tianhai Empire Crown Prince is." In the end, this was the White Tiger continent. Ling Xiao was just an outsider. The audience would definitely be more biased towards tyranny. "Do you think you can come back from the dead and receive my ultimate verdict?" Feng Ying chuckled. Perhaps she only treated Ling Xiao's words as a joke and didn't take them seriously at all. "Do you know why I called Heavenly Ocean tyranny trash? He actually let your ultimate verdict hit him. From this, I can see his upper limit. He's just SOO." Ling Xiao said indifferently. "Ling Xiao, challenge me if you have the guts." Tyranny Heavenly Ocean burned with anger when he heard this. "There's no hurry. I'll deal with this arrogant little girl first, and then I'll deal with you next." Ling Xiao smiled disapprovingly. "Forget it. Since you think you're strong, then I'll teach you what it means to be a genius in this battle." Feng Ying looked disdainfully at Ling Xiao and said indifferently, "It just so happens that I lost to Tyranny Heavenly Ocean. I'm not in a good mood right now, so I'll take it out on you." Although Feng Ying had used up a lot of energy and was injured in the previous battle, it wasn't a big problem. With her cultivation, recovering was easy. At this moment, Thunderclap City was brightly lit. The sunlight that had been absorbed by the formation had been completely released. The surrounding area was dark, but this battlefield was as bright as day. Feng Ying wanted to tell the world, under this bright light, that she wasn't someone who could be bullied. I'm afraid that in the end, you won't be the one to vent. You'll be the one to angrily announce your defeat. Ling Xiao smiled. Your overwhelming righteousness has already lost to evil once. I can make you lose a second time. Do you think your tyranny, Heavenly Ocean? Feng Ying's question was also a question many people in the audience were asking. As she spoke, her overwhelming righteousness surged out from her body, instantly occupying the entire stage. Although it was night, justice was never absent. Overwhelming righteousness could display its terrifying might regardless of whether it was night or day, just like how righteous heroes were during the day. In the night, there were also heroes who didn't leave their names behind. Perhaps after experiencing the battle with Tyranny Heavenly Ocean, Feng Ying had comprehended something. Her aura had actually become even stronger than before. Haven't you heard of the night when the moon is high and the wind is high? The night is still more suitable for evil. Ling Xiao smiled slightly and then instantly became solemn. His pair of cold eyes revealed endless profoundness and mystery, as well as an ancient evil aura. That gaze didn't seem to belong to a human, but rather to a demon god. It came from an existence of extreme yin and extreme evil. Even though Feng Ying's overwhelming righteousness helped her block that evil aura, Ling Xiao's gaze still made her feel a sense of fear. Impossible. I am the Grand Feng Ying. How could I be scared by this brat? She shook her head, and the overwhelming righteousness in her body became even fiercer. However, that sense of fear seemed to have been deeply implanted in the depths of her heart and couldn't be removed. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean defeated you with demonic qi. Then I will also defeat you with demonic qi, so that you don't have to guess my abilities. Ling Xiao smiled coldly. His originally incomparably mysterious aura instantly became evil and terrifying. Mysterious world body, blood sun sword, secret soul technique, samadhi true fire. Ling Xiao had already displayed his 4 most powerful attacks. Could it be that he still had other abilities? Many people thought of the scene when Ling Xiao killed Xiao Budian. At that time, Ling Xiao's right hand transformed into a terrifying demon claw. But after that, Ling Xiao never used that demon claw again. So people didn't pay much attention to it. And now, Ling Xiao's words were clearly telling everyone that his demonic qi was stronger than Tyranny Heavenly Ocean, and that he would use the same method to defeat Feng Ying. This was a declaration, and also a sign of contempt. Contempt for Feng Ying. I will use the same method that others have used to defeat you. Can you block it? Ling Xiao is really a mystery. Someone sighed. Yeah, when he stepped into the myriad lightning extreme ground, his cultivation should only be at the 13th level of the yin-yang realm. At that time, people thought that Black Wind Canyon would be his burial ground. But he didn't die, and instead fought his way to the final stage, entering the top 4. If he can defeat Feng Ying, then he will be worthy of being in the top 3. Yeah, can this dark horse stay dark until the end? Even those who didn't like Ling Xiao wanted to know how dark this dark horse could be. Ling Xiao. This had nothing to do with one's position. It was just a matter of interest. Heavenly demon incarnation. Ling Xiao raised his hands, as if he wanted to merge with the boundless night. In that instant, endless demonic qi gushed out from his body. The entire stage was instantly plunged into darkness. Although this darkness couldn't block the vision of the martial artists, being able to block the light with his aura was truly amazing. Chapter 1992. In the next instant, Ling Xiao's body completely transformed. The pitch-black wings of darkness unfurled behind his back. Sharp devil claws grew on his arms. A terrifying devil light flickered in the darkness, making people's hearts tremble. His pupils had also undergone a strange change. His original human pupils turned vertical and emitted a silver-white light. His hair turned from black to silver-white. This was a characteristic of the celestial devil clan's grand princes. Silver hair, silver eyes, black wings on his back. Celestial devil. This is a true celestial devil. This guy really isn't human. People cried out in alarm. They'd never heard of any martial arts that could transform into a celestial devil, so they treated Ling Xiao as one. A bunch of idiots. They don't recognize the shadow profound truths and the primordial celestial devil battle intent. In the air, Zhu Tiandream stared at Ling Xiao in shock. This brat had surprised her too much. The primordial celestial devil battle intent, combined with the shadow profound truths, had created such a terrifying celestial devil incarnation. This incarnation looked like a celestial devil clan's grand princes, but it was completely different. This was purely Ling Xiao's own strength, something he'd comprehended. This brat's perception was truly frightening. Let me see just how many tricks you have up your sleeve. I'm really looking forward to it. I wonder if the old palace had passed on his martial arts to you? Zhu Tiandream muttered to herself. Palace head, you're overestimating him. Our Nine Heavens Palace's martial arts are profound. I admit that his perception is high, but even if he learned them in a mere 10 days, he won't be able to master them. How could he dare to use them on this stage? Zhu Tian shook her head. Is that so? Then let's wait and see. This brat has already given us many surprises. It's not impossible for him to surprise us again. Zhu Tiandream smiled and looked back at the stage. There was no point in saying more. Let's see Ling Xiao's performance first. If he couldn't even take care of Phoenix Shadow in this battle, then Ling Xiao had no right to compare himself to Tianhai Tyranny and Feng Fei. Jiao Tianmeng's interest and anticipation towards Ling Xiao represented the majority of the people present. After all, Ling Xiao's performance was too miraculous. It was impossible for anyone else to be able to improve all of his combat abilities at the same time. Although it was said that there was no harm in having more skills, no matter what he cultivated, it would still take time. If his time was taken up, he wouldn't be able to improve in other aspects. The majority of martial artists actually preferred Phoenix Shadow's fighting style. Focus on increasing the nature energy and stand out from the rest, becoming a dragon or phoenix among men, a true powerhouse. However, even if they were unconvinced, unhappy, or unable to understand. However, Ling Xiao continued to display his terrifying strength to them. He stepped into the void, and demonic light flickered on his body, as if he was a demon god from the ancient times. It wasn't a shadow, but a real entity created by the power of Shadow Upanishad. The pressure it brought to the people was real. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny can use demonic energy, but he doesn't have this heavenly demon incarnation. Ling Xiao's heavenly demon incarnation looks even more terrifying. Is he going to use this heavenly demon incarnation to disperse Phoenix Shadow's nature energy? Although people liked the Aoran vital energy that represented justice, they had to admit that whether it was the Aoran vital energy or the demonic energy, it was just a way to cultivate. Whether a martial artist was righteous or evil depended on themselves. Therefore, in the mystic world, there was no such thing as evil or righteous martial arts. As long as it was a martial art, as long as it could increase one's cultivation, it was a good thing. However, could Ling Xiao's heavenly demon incarnation really destroy the nature energy that Phoenix Shadow had cultivated for so many years? It's still the same words. Everyone has the right to punish evil. No matter what tricks you play, you can't escape defeat. Phoenix Shadow looked coldly at Ling Xiao, and the nature energy continued to surge out of her body. She once again pounced towards Ling Xiao, already lost to the demonic energy once. I don't know where your courage comes from, to actually still dare to be so confident. Ling Xiao looked at Phoenix Shadow coldly and said, Why would a fiend god fear a mere nature energy? He did not even make any movements. He just stood there, allowing Phoenix Shadow's nature energy to envelop him and attack him. There was no effect at all. His heavenly demon incarnation stood proudly in the nature energy. There was even a contemptuous smile at the corners of his mouth. It was mockery and also disdain. When people saw this miraculous scene, they all secretly asked in their hearts, could this heavenly demon incarnation be an undying body, to actually be able to resist such a terrifying nature energy attack? Everyone says that evil does not prevail over good, but the situation on the stage right now makes it very hard for people to believe in the correctness of the sentence. Looks like it's not completely pretending to be mysterious. It's actually quite interesting. Phoenix Shadow frowned. Her nature energy was actually unable to destroy Ling Zhao's heavenly demon incarnation. Evil does not prevail over good becoming a joke. Actually, how is there any evil does not prevail over good? At the end of the day, it was still the difference in strength. If justice was stronger, it could defeat evil. If evil was stronger, justice would definitely fail. This was the cruel reality. The so-called evil does not prevail over good was just a child's fairy tale. Is it just a little interesting? Ling Xiao smiled slightly and said, I've already given you a chance to attack. Unfortunately, you didn't cherish it. Next, it's my turn to attack. Could it be that you think my heavenly demon incarnation is just for show? After saying that, Ling Xiao suddenly moved. Under the light, the heavenly demon incarnation moved like a small mountain. It looked very slow, but it was already in front of Phoenix Shadow in an instant. The nature energy along the way was easily destroyed as if it was made of paper. Heavenly Demon Claw. The heavenly demon claw slammed down from the sky, rolling with a terrifying demonic aura. It actually wanted to use the power of evil to destroy the power of justice and disperse it neatly. Phoenix Shadow looked at the huge heavenly demon claw coming down from the sky in shock. She knew that she could not avoid it. However, she did not panic. The nature energy turned into a glowing fist and rushed into the sky, colliding with the heavenly demon claw. Rumble! A horrifying tremor exploded in the void. Many people could not help covering their ears. This kind of collision that was mixed with a strong force was simply a nightmare for warriors with weaker cultivations. Amidst this horrifying tremor, Phoenix Shadow screamed miserably. Her body actually kept rolling on the stage, and in the end, she almost fell off the stage. She grabbed the edge of the stage with one hand and jumped up again with a pale complexion. However, her two arms were trembling violently. How powerful was the power of the heavenly demon incarnation? Phoenix Shadow actually met force with force. How could she possibly beat it? Ling Xiao did not pursue an attack. Instead, he floated in midair. The mountain-like, demonic shadow looked at Phoenix Shadow coldly. Are you convinced now? He naturally did not have deep enmity with Phoenix Shadow. As long as he defeated her and made her stop being so rampant, it was enough. Therefore, there was no need to pursue an attack. But such a colossal monster in the sky, the demonic aura that constantly released still brought tremendous pressure to Phoenix Shadow. Demonic light flickered. Heaven and earth seemed to be ruled by evil. Chapter 1993. I don't accept this. Feng Ying spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva as she stared coldly at Ling Xiao in the air. Fine then. Again, Tianma Fist. He switched from Devil Claw to Devil Fist, but the effects were just as terrifying. Feng Ying's cheeks flushed red as the overwhelming righteousness in her body surged forth. The little white figure appeared behind her back once more. Finally, she began to use her martial soul. At the same time, the righteous sword of heaven and earth appeared in her hands to stab at the Tianma Fist in the air. It's useless. Ling Zhao's cold voice rang out. The terrifying Tianma Fist smashed down. Boom! The Tianma Fist and the righteous sword of heaven and earth collided. Black and white light exploded on the stage. The crowd didn't even dare to breathe loudly at the sight. Crack! The newly formed righteous sword of heaven and earth was smashed to pieces by the fist. Once again, Feng Ying was sent flying. Against Ling Xiao, she couldn't gain the slightest advantage. It was hard for her to accept this. Do you accept this? Ling Xiao's voice rang out again. You looked down on me, but now you're being suppressed by me. This must feel terrible, right? But it's still better than losing your little life. I don't want to kill you. One victory is enough. I said it before, my only opponent is Mu Wanshuang. That's right, she's called Feng Fei now. Hearing this, the crowd suddenly recalled Ling Xiao's words against Lei Lai. Could it be that this brat had seen through Mu Wanshuang from the start? His eyesight was too sharp, wasn't it? I don't accept this. Phoenix Shadow let out a hysterical roar. If she was defeated by Tianhai tyranny, she could accept it and wouldn't find anything wrong with it. However, to be defeated by Ling Xiao, and to be defeated so easily, even she would laugh at herself. Moreover, there were countless pairs of eyes staring at her. She didn't want to be laughed at, much less be looked down upon by her master. All these years, she'd impersonated Feng Fei to do things outside and received nothing but praise and encouragement. She didn't want to come anymore. She actually had such a stain on her record. Being defeated by a mere martial artist from the heavenly dragon continent really made her wish she was dead. Righteous chi of heaven and earth, sun, stars and rivers, ultimate judgment. Phoenix Shadow finally used her most powerful move. This move had once charred Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's body black. If Heavenly Ocean Tyranny didn't have a powerful tarantula martial soul, he would have been a corpse by now. Everyone watched this scene nervously, not knowing what method Ling Xiao would use to block this powerful attack. Ling Xiao's movement technique is outstanding. He should be able to dodge it. Yeah, I think so too. Most people had the same idea. Ling Xiao's movements in the previous battle were very strong, and his speed was very fast. If he chose to dodge at this time, there should be no problem. Ultimate Judgment had a diameter of more than 10 meters, but this stage had an area of more than 1,000 square meters. If Ling Xiao really wanted to dodge, he really could. I won't let you have any chance to dodge. But Phoenix Shadow seemed to have considered this point as well. She took out an item from her storage ring and threw it out. You're not the only one with a formation stone. 8 Gates Golden Lock Formation. The formation stone blossomed with light in the air. Then, the 8 Gates Golden Lock Formation was released on the stage. Ling Xiao had less space to dodge. He was confined to an area of more than 10 square meters and had no way to dodge. What an unnecessary move. Who told you I was going to dodge? Ling Xiao looked up at the sky, gathering large amounts of devilish qi in his hands to form a cone-shaped object. Celestial Devil, Shadow Cone. Using his celestial devil form to release a shadow cone naturally matched the terrifying strength of that form. The shadow cone formed from devilish qi was simply too big. Like a giant drill, it shot towards the sky at breakneck speed. It collided with Ultimate Judgment. Rumble. This time, Ultimate Judgment finally gained the upper hand. The celestial devil shadow cone was smashed to pieces. The terrifying beam of light still landed on Ling Xiao's body. Kacha! The celestial devil form let out a cracking sound as if it was about to split apart. Hee hee ha ha ha. Did you see that, Ling Xiao? So what if it's a celestial devil form? Even if it's a real demon god, I'll kill it for you. Hearing this beautiful voice, Phoenix Shadow laughed crazily, as if victory was already in sight. Her perseverance was not wrong. Her ultimate judgment was indeed the strongest. You don't have the water bear martial soul. Let's see how you survive. You're very proud? Ling Xiao's cold voice came from the bright beam of light. The pitch-black demonic hand waved, and the white light suddenly disappeared. The giant demon god looked down on all living beings with incomparable coldness. Apart from a few cracks on its body, the celestial devil form was completely intact. How is this possible? Phoenix Shadow's expression froze. She didn't believe it. She didn't believe that Ling Xiao's defense was stronger than Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's body was scorched by her, but Ling Xiao only had a few cracks on his body. This was impossible. That was impossible. Surprised, aren't you? I've already said that your so-called ultimate strength is not worth mentioning in front of me. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny? It seems that in your eyes he's very strong, but in my eyes he's really nothing. With your strength, you can actually turn him into charcoal. How laughable. Ling Xiao's voice was cold and cruel. Although what he said were very ordinary words, the blow to Phoenix Shadow was very serious. I'll ask you one last time. Do you admit defeat? Ling Xiao asked coldly. No, I don't admit defeat. Who do you think you are? How can you defeat me? Phoenix Shadow was still unwilling to admit defeat. Although Ling Xiao had blocked her attacks, he hadn't dealt too much damage to her. She didn't believe that Ling Xiao could do anything to her. All right, since you want to fall into hell, then I'll let you see what a real demon is. You'll definitely regret it. The silver demonic eyes flashed with a strange light. Heavenly demon, purgatory. A cold voice came from the mouth of the heavenly demon incarnation. Then Ling Xiao's surroundings turned into a mountain of blades and a sea of flames. Terrifying magma was constantly spewing out, as if it was real. Did you know that outside the mysterious world in the universe, there really is a demon world? The ruler of the demon world is the demon god, and there are 5 demon emperors under him. The demon emperor of the East controls the heavenly demons and controls natural disasters. He's almost omnipotent. Every time, he consumes people's energy, causing them to be unstable. The demon emperor of the South controls the earth demons. His power can cover the sky, and his strength can topple mountains. Every time, he consumes people's energy, causing them to go berserk. The demon emperor of the West controls the metal stone mountains and rivers. He can break mountains and throw rocks. Every time, he consumes people's energy, causing them to be greedy. The demon emperor of the North controls the ocean swamps. He's ugly and murderous. Every time, he consumes people's energy, causing them to be lustful. The demon emperor of the Central Yellow controls the essence of demons from all directions. He's the best at controlling demons. Every time, he consumes people's energy, causing them to be greedy, causing them to fall sick. Chapter 1994. Ling Xiao had obtained the information regarding the 5 emperors, demon kings, from the sealed memories of the Night Devil King. Although the 7 great demon kings that formed the Night Devil King were incomparably powerful in the mystic world, they were not peak existences in the devil world. These 7 great demon kings were all controlled by the Azure Demon King of the 5 Emperors' Demon Kings. Of course, this was not important. The important thing was that Ling Xiao had comprehended a new way of fighting based on the information of the 5 Emperors' Demon Kings and the Night Devil King's memories and the immemorial Heavenly Demon King's battle intent. A way of fighting that was more suitable for the Heavenly Demon incarnation. This was the Heavenly Demon Purgatory. As the Heavenly Demon Purgatory opened, all sorts of demons and monsters appeared. Countless strange phantoms flickered around Ling Xiao. Playing tricks, do you think I'm afraid of you? Feng Ying felt disdain in her heart. She did not believe that Ling Xiao could open the real Heavenly Demon Purgatory. This was definitely an illusion used to confuse her and make her afraid. Kill! Ling Xiao roared as a huge ox demon monster brandished its axe and charged towards Feng Ying. At first, Feng Ying did not care and only stabbed out with her sword, attempting to use the sword qi to destroy this illusory phantom. However, to her horror, the sword qi was blocked by the ox demon monster's axe and disappeared. What's going on? Could it be real? Feng Ying jumped in fright. At this moment, the ox demon monster's axe was already chopping towards her. The ox demon monster was 5 meters tall. As the huge axe chopped down, A gust of wind blew in the surroundings. The scene was very strange. Overwhelming righteous energy. Kill this unorthodox demon for me. Feng Ying roared as the righteous energy sword in her hand stabbed out. Ding! A crisp sound rang out from the stage. The ox demon monster's body leaned back as if it was about to fall. As for Feng Ying, she was smashed to the ground. She was horrified to find that this illusory thing actually had such a terrifying physical attack. This was too terrifying. A single ox demon monster can make you so shocked? Then, what path do you have left to live? Ling Xiao sneered as his three-leaf demonic eyes rotated. The three-leaf demonic eyes was the key to his ability to use the heavenly devil purgatory. Although he couldn't summon these monsters directly with his current strength, he could use demonic energy to condense them into monsters. This was the wonder of the Sky Devil Purgatory. Each monster was equivalent to a powerful martial soul. A martial spirit could help a martial artist in battle. Demon nascent soul descend. Then, more than a dozen red monsters jumped out of the heavenly devil purgatory. Although these small monsters weren't as strong as the ox demons, they had the advantage in numbers. After they appeared, they opened their mouths and spat out lava-like flames, which continuously bombarded the phoenix shadow. Could this be a martial spirit condensed from devilish chi? Feng Ying was also a knowledgeable person. When she saw this scene, although she was extremely frightened, she could clearly feel that these demonic monsters were very similar to martial spirits. Righteous chi takes form. Justice descends from the heavens. Although Phoenix Shadow was frightened, she did not lose her composure for the time being. Her righteous chi transformed into multiple shadows of her, which then charged at the demonic infant and the bull demon monster. Still stubbornly resisting? The moment I released the heavenly devil purgatory, you were destined to have no chance of turning the tables. Death Knight kill. Following Ling Zhao's angry roar, a strange neighing sound suddenly came from the heavenly devil purgatory. Then, a warhorse emitting strange purple flames dashed out. On the warhorse there was a knight. The knight wore black armor, and his eyes emitted a strange purple light. He held a large black sword in his hand and directly attacked the Phoenix Shadow. Phoenix Shadow was really shocked. Just how powerful was this Ling Zhao's demonic energy that he could condense so many martial spirit phantoms? She didn't feel so hopeless when she fought against Tian Hai tyranny. Now, facing Ling Xiao, she didn't even have the slightest chance of winning. As long as she could keep her life, she would be thankful. The ox demon, the demonic infant, and the death knight attacked together, and her righteous chi was shattered one by one. And in the void, the terrifying heavenly devil incarnation that was like a black mountain had yet to make a move. Ling Xiao was clearly telling her that her strength was too weak. The two of them weren't on the same level. Even if his main body didn't make a move, he could easily kill her. This Ling Xiao is really too terrifying. Everyone watched the battle on the stage with incomparable shock. They had never seen such a strange battle before. The demonic infant, the ox demon, and the death knight didn't belong to the mystic world. They came from the legendary demon realm. Just these three monsters were enough to make the Phoenix Shadow flustered, and Ling Zhao's main body didn't even attack. Just how big was the gap between the two of them? But how did Ling Xiao know about the demon realm? Could it be that he's really a demon? That's why he has such terrifying methods. Everyone was guessing, but they didn't know the truth. Ling Xiao had already obtained the 7 heavenly demon kings in the underground world. From their memories, he understood some things about the demon realm. At that time, he was thinking about what to do with it. Thus, he tried to use the 3-leaf demonic pupil to communicate with the demon realm to see if he could summon a real demon. But that attempt failed. But the failure also gave him some experience. Later, he was pulled into the illusory space by the 9 Heavens Palace Master. That space could turn his thoughts into reality. This time, Ling Xiao tried his idea of building the heavenly devil purgatory again. He succeeded, Not only did he succeed, but his battle strength also increased greatly. This might be more delightful than an increase in cultivation. Speaking of which, he had to thank those idiots from the Black Tortoise Temple for imprisoning him in the heavenly prison. Otherwise, he wouldn't have met the Nine Heavens Palace Master and obtained such great benefits. Demonic Mirror Martial Soul, Three-Leaf Demonic Pupil, Demonic Chi, Demon Realms Memories, Shadow Profound. These 5 factors combined to form his incomparably powerful Heavenly Devil Purgatory. Boom! The Death Knight's huge black broadsword slashed at Phoenix Shadow's righteous Chi sword. Demonic Chi and overwhelming righteous Chi clashed again. Phoenix Shadow lost, because the Death Knight's demonic Chi came from Ling Xiao and the Demon Realm's real demonic Chi, not the demonic Chi mixed in the mystic world. Her body tilted, and she almost lost control of her balance. At this time, dozens of lava fireballs blasted at her. Phoenix Shadow dodged in a hurry, and the scene was very embarrassing, but her body was still hit several times. Ling Xiao looked at all of this coldly. He had already expected this outcome. Boom! Chapter 1995. Just as Feng Ying was about to land on the stage, she was grabbed back by Ling Xiao's huge, demonic hand. Do you admit defeat? Ling Xiao asked the same question. Feng Ying's attempt to fall off the stage had failed, but he wouldn't give her the chance unless she admitted defeat. Facing Ling Xiao and his devilish phantasm, Feng Ying had lost all confidence. What kind of joke was this? How could she possibly win against such a monster? I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Feng Ying sighed. In the end, she still admitted defeat. Before Ling Xiao's formidable strength, she had no choice but to admit defeat. This result was beyond her expectations, but it was so irreversible. Very good. Ling Xiao smiled and returned to his original form. He placed Feng Ying back on the stage. The Sky Devil Purgatory disappeared at the same time, along with the phantoms. Just what kind of connection does Ling Xiao have with the demon realm to be able to summon such terrifying monsters? If he could summon the 5 demon emperors, wouldn't he be even more invincible? Everyone was stunned. After so many battles, Ling Xiao had killed or defeated multiple top geniuses, but he still hadn't used the same method of attack. Just how strong was this guy? Looking at Feng Ying, who was on the verge of collapsing, Ling Xiao said mildly, You thought only Feng Fei and Tian Hai Tyranny were qualified to defeat you and didn't place me in your eyes. Do you still think so now? I can clearly tell you that the heavenly ocean tyranny that you put on a pedestal will soon be defeated by me. And your master Feng Fei, they'll all become stepping stones for me to reach the top of the white tiger meat. You don't need to be so discouraged, because you won't be the only one to lose to me. To tell the truth, I've never placed you in my eyes from the start. Ling Xiao's voice seemed to be comforting Feng Ying, but every word was like a knife stabbing into her body, making her heart bleed. Feng Ying, come down. You don't have to care too much about his words. I will help you defeat him. Feng Fei looked mildly at Feng Ying and said, My servant girl won't lose her confidence because of a single defeat. Even if you're not his match today, you'll still have chances in the future. Your resources aren't something he can compare to. Yes. Phoenix Shadow returned to his seat and began to heal his wounds. Even though he had lost to Heavenly Ocean Tyranny and Ling Xiao in succession, he was still able to recover. However, her strength was still unquestionable. She would definitely be one of the top 4. There was no doubt about it. Ling Xiao said nothing more. Unless he defeated Feng Fei and Tian Hai Tyranny, no matter how much people looked at him, they'd still think he was only 3rd. Fortunately, his battle with the 2 of them would soon begin. Now the top 4 had switched places. Tian Hai Tyranny, Feng Fei, Ling Xiao, Feng Ying. After Ling Xiao and Feng Ying's battle, Cold Plum challenged Drunken Linglong. In the end, the 2 ended in a draw. It could be seen that after every battle, Lung Mei's strength would always increase. This was because she had inherited the Black Feather King's legacy and was still familiarizing herself with it. She gained something from every battle. Of course, the audience didn't care about this battle at all. What they cared about was the battle between Feng Fei and Heavenly Ocean Tyranny. This was definitely the focal point of this year's White Tiger Storm meet, and it was also considered to be one of the top battles of this year's White Tiger Storm meet. Whoever won would be the final victor of this year's White Tiger meet. Even though the ranking matches weren't over yet after these two battles, Ling Xiao and the rest of his opponents had already been ignored. Feng Fei, it's time for us to decide the victor. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny stepped onto the stage. Although his voice wasn't loud, it stirred up waves of cheers from the audience. For the audience, this meant that the final battle had been brought forward. They had been disappointed before when Feng Fei, disguised as Feng Fei, lost to Heavenly Ocean Tyranny, leaving them very unsatisfied. But now they could finally enjoy this battle to their heart's content. This was the real battle between Feng Fei and Heavenly Ocean Tyranny. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny, His Highness Crown Prince of the Tianhai Empire, was hailed as one of the peerless twins. Whether it was on the battlefield or in various competitions, they were always among the top two. Feng Fei, Jingyi School's #1 disciple, was also one of the peerless twins. Countless people believed that she would take first place in this year's White Tiger meet. Perhaps even Heavenly Ocean Tyranny couldn't compare to her. Now that the two of them had finally met, they each had their own fans. Moreover, they were both the top geniuses of the White Tiger continent. Naturally, it was easier to accept than Ling Xiao taking first place. Without a doubt, these two were the strongest geniuses. Whether it was the White Tiger continent or the Dragon Phoenix continent, it was the same. This was what almost everyone was thinking. How could they not be excited at this thought? Many people had even taken advantage of Cold Plum's fight to relieve themselves, so they could watch this battle. Although this was a little disrespectful to Cold Plum and Drunken Linglong, it didn't matter. After all, the battle between Heavenly Ocean Tyranny and Feng Fei was what they were looking forward to. Feng Fei slowly stepped onto the stage, a faint smile on her face. Just like how Heavenly Ocean Tyranny had always viewed her as their ultimate opponent, she viewed Heavenly Ocean Tyranny as her only opponent. Everyone else could only serve as a foil. If I defeat you, I'll be the strongest genius of the first 3 continents and the champion of the White Tiger meet. I never expected our battle to come so soon. I'm very excited. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny looked at Feng Fei with an excited expression. It looked like he wasn't just talking empty talk. Although he'd seen the battle between Ling Xiao and Phoenix Shadow, he didn't think much of it. This meant that he had to be hiding some of his strength. He hadn't used his full strength against Phoenix Shadow. Feng Fei looked back at Heavenly Ocean Tyranny with a light smile. I'm sorry, Your Highness Crown Prince of the Tianhai Empire. Since my identity has been exposed, I'll take first place for sure. You're still not enough. Her smile was indifferent, without any of Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's excitement. It wasn't clear whether she was too confident or simply didn't think much of Heavenly Ocean Tyranny. Let's not waste words. Let's fight. A surge of devilish aura surged and danced in the air, as if a demonic dragon was hovering in the sky. Heavenly Ocean Tyranny wanted to use actions to force Feng Fei to submit, just like how Ling Xiao had defeated Phoenix Shadow. The glory of the White Tiger meet belonged to him alone. Of course, I don't want to waste words either. Unlike Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's domineering attitude, Feng Fei was always calm and collected. This was probably due to the teachings of the Jingyi School. Chapter 1996. The Jingyi School emphasized the path of heartlessness. Friends, family, and lovers were no different from the mountains and rivers in their eyes. Some called it heartless or unfeeling. But the Jingyi School said that only by discarding the 7 emotions and 6 desires could one achieve great success in martial arts. Whether they were right or wrong, the Jingyi School always gave off the feeling that they didn't care about anything. But what if they really didn't care? That wasn't right either. Feng Fei still wanted to defeat Tianhai tyranny and take first place in the white tiger meet. The two of them are evenly matched. This battle is the real battle between the top. Compared to them, Feng Ying and Ling Xiao are obviously not good enough. Aside from the few people who supported Ling Xiao, the majority believed that this was the true battle between the top. Devil King's fist. Tianhai tyranny roared as his fist soared into the skies. All of the elemental energy in the air seemed to compress and fuse into this terrifying punch. Devilish energy fused with the elements to a high degree. The power of this punch was truly ferocious. The crowd felt like they were witnessing the descent of a Devil King. Judging from its aura alone, it was no weaker than Ling Xiao's celestial devil incarnation. In fact, it might even be stronger. The great Tao is simple, righteous fist. Feng Fei's voice wasn't as loud as Tianhai tyranny's, but the aura he released was no less terrifying. The space that had been sealed by devilish energy instantly shattered. A jade-like fist slammed into the air. Boom! The explosive aura seemed to be about to overturn the entire arena. Thunderclap City couldn't help but shake multiple times. Terrifying light blossomed on the stage before spreading out in rays of resplendent light. The red phoenix chi clashed with the black devilish energy, looking even more dazzling than the white righteous energy clashing with the black devilish energy. From this point alone, Feng Fei's strength was much greater than Feng Ying's. Neither of them seemed to have the upper hand in this clash. Afterwards, the two of them turned into two afterimages, one red and one black. Their fists madly collided in the air. Their speed was so fast that most people couldn't keep up with them with their eyes. Boom, 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 terrifying explosions rang out one after another. Terrifying shockwaves spread out in the sky and the arena. Most people couldn't even see their figures. They could only see the two lights colliding and separating in the air and on the arena. After that, they collided and separated again. The speed was too fast. It was so fast that people thought that this was not a battle between two people, but a battle between two rays of light. But even though they couldn't see anyone, the martial artists were still very excited. Such an evenly matched showdown was too exciting. This was the true ultimate showdown. Compared to the battle between Phoenix Shadow and Heavenly Ocean Tyranny, it was clearly on a higher level. Ling Xiao, did you see that? Did you see how powerful those two are? Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you defeated me. Compared to these two people, you are nothing. Although Feng Ying was convinced by Ling Xiao, she still couldn't agree with Ling Xiao's plan to defeat Feng Fei and Tyranny Tianhai. Really? Then I'd advise you to take care of your injuries. When you see me fight these two, don't get too excited and cause your old injuries to flare up. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and ignored Feng Ying. Instead, he looked at the arena. After a full 10 minutes of fierce clashes, the two finally separated. They floated in the air on the east and west sides of the arena. Tyranny Tianhai's eyes shone with a vicious light, his demonic qi still rampant as he glared at Feng Fei. Feng Fei's expression was as calm as ever. The divine phoenix's aura wrapped around her, dyeing the night sky red. She was also looking at Tyranny Tianhai. Although her expression was indifferent, Ling Xiao could still see the seriousness in her eyes. It was obvious that Feng Fei couldn't let down his guard against Tyranny Tianhai's strength. Ha 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 ha, Feng Fei, you really are the real Feng Fei. You didn't disappoint this crown prince. My Tyranny Tianhai is very happy to have such an opponent at the White Tiger Summit. But victory in this battle will belong to me. After a series of fierce clashes, Tyranny Tianhai seemed to have figured out Feng Fei's strength and was even more confident than before. As he finished speaking, the image of a giant divine crocodile appeared behind him. This guy was finally using his first martial soul. But it looked like Tyranny Tianhai couldn't simultaneously release multiple martial souls like Ling Xiao. Perhaps no one else in this world besides Ling Xiao, who had the Tyrant Sky martial soul, could do this. Even the talented and arrogant Tyranny Tianhai couldn't do it. But Tyranny Tianhai had an advantage. Not only did he have the divine crocodile martial soul, he also had the divine crocodile bloodline. Bloodlines and martial souls were the same and could form many terrifying connections, allowing a martial artist to explode with even more power. The divine crocodile martial soul appeared, its giant image looking down at Feng Fei as if it wanted to swallow the skies. Under the divine crocodile's pressure, space creaked and groaned as if it was about to shatter. The Tianhai Empire's divine crocodile martial soul is indeed powerful. Combined with your divine crocodile bloodline, it's simply wonderful beyond compare. But even if you have a martial soul bloodline, Feng Fei, have it too. Feng Fei chuckled as the image of a raging flame's divine phoenix appeared behind him. At the same time, the divine phoenix bloodline in her body awakened, releasing a fiery red light from her body. Like flames, the air seemed to turn scorching hot. Divine phoenix or divine crocodile, let's see who's stronger. Feng Fei smiled and released his terrifying divine phoenix chi. In an instant, the space around Tyranny Tianhai seemed to be controlled by flames as strange heat rose from the air. The martial artists who were close to the arena all felt this kind of terrifying heat that assaulted their faces. These two top geniuses are already a level higher without using their martial souls. Now that they're using their martial souls and bloodlines at the same time, it's indescribably terrifying. That's right. One side is the divine crocodile, controlling raging waves to flood the entire space. The other side is the divine phoenix, controlling raging flames to burn the skies. It's hard to say who's stronger, water or fire. Tyranny Tianhai furrowed his brows. He could also feel the terrifying power released by Feng Fei. It was stronger than he imagined. Again, the great Tao is simple righteous fist. Feng Fei didn't change his moves, but used an even stronger force after releasing his martial soul and bloodline power. In an instant, the entire space was filled with flames. His righteous fist combined the power of fire and divine phoenix chi, made it seem like a divine phoenix had descended from the heavens. Come, Devil King Fist, kill. Chapter 1997. Tianhai Tyranny's power surged as the crocodile god transformed into a demon king. The raging blue waves transformed into a black demonic sea that surged towards the inferno godly phoenix. Feng Fei's expression was as calm as ever. His jade-like fist was wrapped in flames as he punched towards the Devil King's hegemonic fist. Rumble. There was a series of explosions as the terrifying flames swallowed up the fiend energy and destroyed the Devil King's hegemonic fist. Then the fist slammed into Tianhai Tyranny's body. Even though this punch had weakened quite a bit after colliding with the Demon King's tyrant fist, Heavenly Ocean Tyranny was still forced back a step. It was only a small step, but it was still a victory for Feng Fei. In this head-on clash, it was clear that she had the upper hand. Is the victor going to be decided? Everyone was doubtful. After all, Tianhai Tyranny was so strong. Wasn't it a little too easy for him to lose so easily? Atop the stage, Tianhai Tyranny stared coldly at Feng Fei. Although he'd taken a punch, he didn't seem injured at all. Formidable, Feng Fei. You really are the opponent I chose. This is the first time I've seen someone force me to use my full strength since my debut. Tianhai Tyranny actually laughed. Again, an even more terrifying aura surged from his body, causing the skies to change color. Once life-seizing, everyone was stunned. This guy's cultivation had already reached the life-seizing realm. After all, Feng Fei and Tianhai Tyranny were the strongest when they first arrived at the myriad, lightning, desolate grounds. The two of them were only at the late 18th level of the Yin-Yang realm, far from the peak. But after such a long time, the strength of other martial artists had increased. So how could the strength of the two of them not increase? Even so, the fact that Tianhai Tyranny had reached the once life-seizing realm was still a shock to the crowd. Life-seizing. Once life ceasing meant that one already had the origin energy of samsara in their bodies. Their bodies had begun to change on a fundamental level, making them vastly different from ordinary yin-yang realm cultivators. It didn't sound like much of a difference, but there was a huge difference. Apparently, the power of a life-sizer was enough to infuriate the heavens above. Lightning flashed and thunder boomed, as if to punish the person who had dared to defy the heavens and alter fate. People watched the scene in horror. Very few people had ever seen a rebirth realm expert go all out. But if a life-sizer was already half a step into the rebirth realm, it was easy to imagine how powerful a rebirth realm expert would be. It was really too scary for a martial artist who wasn't even 30 years old to be this strong. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean truly lived up to their tyrannical nature. Demon King Tyrant Fist seized life. The same move was released again, but the fist intent was many times stronger than before. Feng Fei furrowed his brows. Such frightening strength really surprised him. But would she, Feng Fei, shrink back? The great Tao is simple. Righteous fist, kill. Feng Fei wasn't afraid at all. He punched out with a terrifying divine phoenix chi that shot towards the Devil King's fist. But this time, the phoenix chi actually felt fear. In midair, the fist intent of the Devil King's fist shattered it into pieces. The terrifying force slammed into Feng Fei's body, causing him to stagger back 2 steps. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Interesting. Feng Fei smiled. His previously tranquil aura suddenly turned solemn and dignified, like that of a queen. Everyone felt a powerful pressure emanating from him. If it was anyone else, they would have been defeated long ago. In any case, Feng Ying had no way of blocking such a frightening attack. Feng Fei, on the other hand, had only spat out a tiny bit of blood. He looked completely fine. Do you think you're the only one who's improved your cultivation? Feng Fei looked at Tyranny Heavenly Ocean as a holy aura rose from him. The divine phoenix behind his back had turned into a pure, white, holy phoenix. Even its red flames had turned a holy white. Life-sizer. He's actually in the life-sizer realm as well. The crowd boiled over. Who would have thought that this year's white tiger meat would give birth to 2 life-sizer geniuses? As expected, these 2 were the strongest of the bunch. Do you see that? Do you see that, Ling Xiao? Do you think you're worthy compared to them? Feng Ying was incomparably excited, as if it wasn't Feng Fei who'd unleashed such power, but herself. This time, Ling Xiao didn't pay any attention to her. He just looked at the arena indifferently, his expression as calm as usual. Feng Ying brought a snub upon herself and was rather displeased in her heart. But she believed that when Ling Xiao encountered these 2 great powerhouses, it would surely be a situation of asking for trouble. When that happened, she'd be able to enjoy the sight of Ling Xiao being abused. Heavenly Tao Power, Gate of Laws. Following the release of her cultivation, Feng Fei's entire aura changed as she muttered to herself. All of a sudden, a huge door appeared in the sky. Countless inscriptions covered its surface and emanated a resplendent white light. It was both holy and mysterious, just like the light of the immortal court. Heavenly Tao Power. It's actually Heavenly Tao Power. Legends say that the righteous sect is the representative of the immortal court in the White Tiger continent. It looks like the rumors were true. This Feng Fei can actually activate the Gate of Laws. Tian Hai Tyranny is in danger. Those familiar with Heavenly Tao Power and the Gate of Laws were clear on how powerful they were. Under the suppression of these 2 terrifying powers, Tian Hai Tyranny had no chance at all. Tian Hai Tyranny raised his head and stared coldly at the Gate of Laws with furrowed brows. Immediately after, the corner of his mouth revealed a ruthless expression. Since you've exposed your trump card, then I won't be polite either. The image of the divine crocodile behind Tian Hai Tyranny vanished completely, but the devilish chi only grew stronger. A moment later, Tian Hai Tyranny's body began to change. His original divine, crocodile body turned into a giant Devil King. Although this Devil King's body wasn't as large as Ling Xiao's celestial devil incarnation, the terrifying power it contained was real, powerful, and pure. It was even more evil than Ling Xiao's celestial devil incarnation. This guy's gone crazy. Ling Xiao couldn't help but sigh with emotion. What's wrong, big bro? Is something wrong? Long Qin couldn't see the problem and couldn't help asking. He actually abandoned his own body and injected his soul into the body of a true heavenly demon. Although this can greatly increase his cultivation, I feel that as a genius this method is too unwise. His own body clearly has more potential to be unearthed. Chapter 1998. How crazy! His body, hair, and skin were all given to him by his parents. Is this really worth it? Sun Lingchan shook her head. She had originally admired heavenly ocean tyranny, but at this moment her thoughts had changed. Tianhai tyranny's method of increasing his cultivation was definitely not her path of martial arts. Of course, Tianhai tyranny didn't care about that. He only cared about his own strength. It's useless, Tianhai tyranny. No matter what you turn into, once I release my heavenly Tao energy and the gate of laws, you have no chance of winning. Feng Fei looked at Tianhai tyranny's transformation and spoke coldly. Her aura was holy and noble, even tinged with the dignity of the heavenly Tao. Right now, I am the representative of the heavenly Tao, the ruler of its laws. Stop bragging. Do you really think you're one of the 7 sovereigns? All you did was pray for a bit. Do you really think you can contend against my Demon King's body? Tianhai tyranny snorted, completely unafraid of Feng Fei's powerful aura. Right now, he was confident and domineering, even more so than before. You're right. I'm not one of the 7 sovereigns, much less the king of sovereigns. But against you, this bit of heavenly Tao energy is enough. Heavenly Tao, gate of laws, attack. Feng Fei smiled faintly. Then the heavenly Tao energy in his body shot into the clouds and into the gate of laws. Suddenly, the sound of iron hooves stomping on the ground filled the air, followed by the sounds of battle. Everyone stared in shock at the gate of laws, expecting an army to emerge from within. In the blink of an eye, countless cloud-like objects poured out of the gate of laws. These clouds actually formed an army. The cavalry charged, the infantry followed, and the archers brought up the rear. The cavalry was the first to reach Tianhai tyranny. Tianhai tyranny's expression turned cold. Terrifying devilish qi surged from his body as he waved his claws and smashed the clouds apart. But the cavalry's charge continued. The cloud-like cavalry seemed to be endless. Wielding sharp weapons, they charged without end. The infantrymen followed closely behind, forming a huge shield formation and getting into formation. Kill! 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 Tyranny Heavenly Ocean was furious. The terrifying devil, Qi, contaminated the cavalry. The cavalry were swallowed up by the devil Qi and disappeared. However, before Heavenly Ocean Tyranny could celebrate, a rain of arrows flew towards them. The densely packed arrows were all condensed from heavenly energy, and each of them was filled with terrifying, destructive power. Heavens, I can't block any of these arrows. In the crowd, the martial artists kept exclaiming. Feng Fei's door of laws was simply too valiant. Judging from her words, this was only one of the ways to use it. Tyrannical, Heavenly Ocean flew into a rage. His demonic energy formed a black vortex. The arrows that flew towards him were all swallowed up by this terrifying vortex. It actually didn't cause any harm to him. After destroying the arrows, Tyranny Heavenly Ocean charged forward, his terrifying fists bombarding the infantry's giant shields. The shields were shattered one by one and then cracked open. Some people noticed that one of the 7 inscriptions on the Gate of Laws was missing. The terrifying Devil Qi destroyed the entire army in an instant. Ha ha ha, satisfying. Feng Fei, your attacks aren't that great after all. Tyrannical Heavenly Ocean laughed heartily, satisfied with his own performance. A trace of surprise surfaced on Feng Fei's face as well, but he recovered his composure a moment later. Heavenly Tao, Door of Laws, Trap Formation! Just as tyrannical Heavenly Ocean was about to attack Feng Fei, the second inscription on the Gate of Laws flickered. More and more figures appeared, like pitch-black clouds. Each of them held a long chain in their hands. Trap! Countless chains were thrown at tyrannical Heavenly Ocean. Tian Hai Tyranny's fist that had been aimed at Feng Fei suddenly turned around and punched at the shadows. Boom! Crack! Crack! Countless chains shattered in an instant, but there were still hundreds of them wrapped around tyrannical Heavenly Ocean's body, tightening around him until it felt like they were embedded into his flesh. Kaboom! Kaboom! Tyrannical Heavenly Ocean was enraged. Blue veins popped up on his Devil King body as his terrifying strength shattered dozens of chains. But the remaining chains had already sunk into tyrannical Heavenly Ocean's body. Break for me! Heavenly Ocean Tyranny too roared, his body swaying uncontrollably. His terrifying power pulled the shadows into the air, making them dance. But the remaining chains were clearly stronger than the ones before. They seemed to form a special connection that made them incomparably tough. Although the chains shook, they didn't break. Don't waste your energy. The chains have already entered your body and will slowly trap your devil chi and yin-yang energy. Do you still want to struggle? Feng Fei looked on coldly, as if victory was already within his grasp. Is that so? My tyrannical Heavenly Ocean doesn't believe you can't. Divine Crocodile Spirit, fuse! Tyrannical Heavenly Ocean was furious. The Divine Crocodile Spirit that had vanished reappeared and fused into the Devil King body. At this moment, the Devil King body grew even larger than Ling Zhao's celestial devil incarnation. A terrifying power burst forth and actually shattered dozens of chains in an instant. Only 2 chains remained in tyrannical Heavenly Ocean's body. But tyrannical Heavenly Ocean didn't care anymore. He reached out with his giant hand and grabbed all of the shadows in the air, stuffing them into his mouth. Then, as he chewed, he punched at Feng Fei. Devil King Fist, Divine Crocodile Spirit, go die for me! Feng Fei's face grew cold. He looked at the 5 remaining runes on the Gate of Laws and finally seemed to feel a little nervous. It looked like Feng Fei hadn't expected tyrannical Heavenly Ocean to be so strong in this battle. He was clearly surprised. Tyrannical Heavenly Ocean, I really admire you. You actually made me lose 2 runes in a row, but your struggles were useless in the end. Heavenly Tao, Gate of Laws, Celestial God. As Feng Fei's cold voice rang out, the 3rd rune on the Gate of Laws flashed with golden light. Then a giant celestial god appeared in front of Feng Fei and blocked tyrannical Heavenly Ocean's punch. What dog fart, celestial god? It's just an illusion. Tyrannical Heavenly Ocean roared as he sent punch after punch at the so-called celestial god. The celestial god retreated again and again, blocking tyrannical Heavenly Ocean's attacks but unable to counterattack. Feng Fei's expression was cold. It was obvious that he hadn't expected this outcome. Tyrannical Heavenly Ocean really was frighteningly strong. Chapter 1999. Heavenly Tao, Door of Laws, 5 Elements. As Feng Fei's cold voice spoke, the 4th rune on the Door of Laws began to flicker. Then, 5 huge pillars shot out from the Gate of Laws. These 5 pillars released 5 dazzling rays of light, enveloping Heavenly Ocean Tyranny. Tian Hai Tyranny felt the yin and yang energies in his body turn chaotic. In that moment, he couldn't even maintain his Devil King's body. Although it was only a split second, Feng Fei made his move. A sword appeared in her hand, and a holy and majestic aura was released from the sword. Her figure flickered as she attacked Tian Hai Tyranny. Since the gods couldn't destroy Tian Hai Tyranny, then she would do it herself. Ah! Tian Hai Tyranny let out a bestial roar. The 5-colored light around him began to shrink as if it was about to break. You don't have a chance. Feng Fei's expression turned cold. The sword in her hand had already pierced Tianhai Tyranny's throat. The cold edge of the blade blossomed with light. "Have you forgotten? I still have the water-bear martial soul." Tianhai Tyranny laughed coldly. He didn't seem to care about the sword piercing through his throat. Instead, he continued to roar as he struggled to break free of the five-colored light. Pa! One of the five-colored lights broke, shattering the pillar that connected it to it. "Destroy for me! Destroy! Destroy, ah! Feng Fei, you must lose!" Tyranny Heavenly Ocean roared madly. His body released even more demonic energy. Another ray of light shattered, shattering the pillar at the same time. The spectators were both frightened and excited at the sight of this horrifying battle. This should be the ultimate battle they wanted. It was simply too spectacular. Only two people with such strength could unleash such a ferocious attack, causing people to be intimidated by the sight of them. But it was still spectacular. Feng Fei's expression was indifferent as he stabbed out with his sword again. "That's right, your water-bear martial soul is almost undying. It's hard to deal with, but that doesn't mean it's invincible. Don't forget, this is a sword of laws." Feng Fei's hands didn't stop moving as he spoke. Terrifying sword shadows surrounded Tianhai Tyranny. Tianhai Tyranny was still struggling. The third streak of colorful light shattered. However, he could already feel his life force slipping away. Feng Fei's swordsmanship was simply too terrifying. Every slash felt like it was trying to seal away all of his internal energy. What kind of sword was this sword of law? Tyranny Heavenly Ocean actually had the thought that he might lose. "No, my Heavenly Ocean Tyranny cannot lose." Roar, Devil Sky Sword. Rumble. In this instant, a giant black sword appeared from Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's body. The sword was more than 10 meters long and several meters wide. It floated above Tyranny's head. Just the sword energy released was enough to shatter everything around it, including the Gate of Laws. Feng Fei was sent flying as well. Right now, Heavenly Ocean Tyranny was in an extremely sorry state. Their eyes were a strange, blood-red color. "Feng Fei, you're really too strong. You actually forced me to use this move." Tianhai Tyrant, too, looked coldly at Feng Fei. "This move is my true trump card. Even a third-level life-sizer would find it hard to block it, to say nothing of you. It's a pity that you still force me to use it. You'll definitely lose this battle. Kill." Tyranny Heavenly Ocean charged at Feng Fei, the terrifying Devil Sky sword clashing against the Sword of Law. Feng Fei didn't retreat. Neither would Tyranny Heavenly Ocean. Half of the stage was white, the other black. Terrifying energy surged dozens of meters into the air. Compared to the battle between Tyranny Heavenly Ocean and Phoenix Shadow, this was far more intense. 1 minute, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour. The two were still in a deadlock, their terrifying energies locked in a stalemate. But from the looks of it, Feng Fei was gradually losing. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean's recovery abilities were too strong. Just this alone was enough to give Feng Fei a headache. With his powerful fighting strength and terrifying recovery abilities, Tyranny Heavenly Ocean had no weaknesses. This deadlock lasted for a full hour. Finally, a terrifying explosion rang out, sending the stage into chaos. Many people couldn't see what was going on. Just what was going on. That was the question on everyone's mind. "Nonsense. Of course my master won." Phoenix Shadow said loudly. "That might not be the case. I think Tyranny Heavenly Ocean's final Devil Sky Sword has already surpassed the limits of human martial arts. He must have learned it from the Celestial Demon Clan. Feng Fei, it's over." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. "You're speaking nonsense." Phoenix Shadow shouted. "We'll find out soon enough whether I'm speaking nonsense or not." Ling Xiao looked towards the stage. When the smoke finally dispersed, Tyranny Heavenly Ocean's figure appeared. Although his clothes were ragged and he cut a sorry figure, his eyes were filled with domineering arrogance. He stood there, cold and domineering. Feng Fei's figure appeared as well. He looked unharmed, but his face was extremely pale. Feng Fei, had actually lost. This was something she'd never expected. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean was even more terrifying than she'd imagined. His terrifying Devil King physique, combined with his water bear martial spirit, made him practically undying. He'd exhausted her to the point of weakness, making it impossible for her to win. Although her injuries weren't serious, she'd used up too much energy. How helpless! Who would have thought Tyranny Heavenly Ocean would be her old rival at the White Tiger Summit? What a pity! To her, second place was meaningless. Congratulations! You truly have the right to take first place in the White Tiger Summit. Feng Fei sighed and returned to her seat to begin healing. Her losses this time were too great. Her gate of laws had been shattered, so she had to repair it in time. Otherwise, if she lost to Ling Xiao again, she'd lose all face. Losing to Tyranny Heavenly Ocean was one thing. After all, the two of them were the White Tiger Summit's pride twins. They were considered the best candidates for the top 2 spots. No matter who won, the audience could accept it. But if they lost to Ling Xiao, it would be a great shame for the Jingyi school. Although Feng Fei didn't say it out loud, her actions were equivalent to admitting defeat. You're not bad yourself to be able to force me to use the Devil's Sky Sword. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean wasn't flattering him. He'd almost lost the battle just then. If he hadn't activated the Devil's Sky Sword at the crucial moment, he would have been the one to lose. If they fought again, it'd be hard to say. Right now, he needed to go back and treat his wounds. At the same time, he wanted to experience his battle with Feng Fei. It'd be best if he could use this chance to improve his strength. That way, he'd be sure to win against Feng Fei again. Heavens, it's finally over. It looks like the White Tiger Summit rankings are set. Chapter 2000. That's right, Tianhai Tyranny will undoubtedly be the champion of this year's White Tiger Gathering. They're the true top geniuses. Feng Fei isn't weak, but he'll only be second. As for Ling Xiao, he'll definitely be third. He's a true dark horse. Fourth should be Feng Ying. After this top-level battle, the audience no longer cared about the rest of the matches. It didn't matter who won or lost. If there was anything else that could keep the audience here, it would probably be the battle between Ling Xiao and Feng Fei against Tianhai Tyranny. Even if Ling Xiao wasn't a match for the two of them, he should have displayed some outstanding skills to display his own strength. After our discussion, we've decided to take a break for 2 hours. Everyone can rest and eat some food. We'll continue after Feng Fei and Tianhai Tyranny finish healing up. The audience supported Lawless's decision wholeheartedly. If Feng Fei and Tianhai Tyranny were allowed to maintain their current state, they'd lose to Ling Xiao. Then there'd be no meaning in the match. Black Tortoise Sacred Hall didn't want Ling Xiao to take advantage of the situation and take first place, so they made this decision. Neither Nine Heavens Dream nor Daoist One Eyebrows objected. Nine Heavens Dream wanted to see Ling Xiao's true strength. Daoist One Eyebrows, on the other hand, was clearly distracted by Feng Fei's unexpected defeat. Perhaps the head of the Jingyi school still believed that Feng Fei would be the final overlord of this year's White Tiger Gathering. But now, it seemed that this idea of his was not likely to be realized. Ling Xiao didn't leave. He sat there with his eyes closed, as if the outside world had nothing to do with him. He was waiting for Feng Fei and Tianhai Tyranny to finish healing up. Of course, he wouldn't object to Black Tortoise Sacred Hall's decision, because he wanted to defeat his opponents fair and square. Otherwise, there'd be no meaning in winning. The audience took advantage of this opportunity to chat and eat. What they talked about the most was that terrifying final battle. Of course, there were also some who talked about Ling Xiao's last 2 battles. One was against Feng Fei, while the other was against Tianhai Tyranny. It was up to him to choose. In their eyes, Ling Xiao would only be third no matter what he chose. But perhaps the battle would be spectacular. 2 hours passed quickly, but Feng Fei and Tianhai Tyranny's injuries still hadn't healed. It was obvious that they'd been heavily injured. I have a suggestion. Let the two of them continue to heal while the rest of the fighters finish their battles. Ling Xiao opened his eyes and said, "That's a good suggestion." Although the audience wasn't that interested in the rest of the battles, it wasn't a bad idea to enjoy them while waiting. After all, they couldn't keep waiting forever. The organizing committees agreed. Thus the battle resumed. After a round of fighting. Top 3's the Tianhai battle rankings. Phoenix Shadow steadily ranked 4th. Long Chen miraculously got 5th place. Drunken Linglong was 6th. Cold Plum was 8th. 9th, 10th. These were the Tianhai battle rankings. Behind them were Jun Macho 11, Sun Lingchan 12, Jun Maching 13, Blue Snow 14, Hanyue 15, Qingqiu Li Hui 16. Dead fighters weren't included, so the likes of Hundred-Eyed Demon Lord Wulong, Xiao Badian, and the Crown Prince Consort were all eliminated. The rest of the rankings were set. Only the top 3 were still a mystery. Though most believed that the top 3 would be Tianhai Tyranny, Feng Fei, and Ling Xiao, they hadn't fought yet, so there were still uncertainties. Even if there was only a 10% chance, it was still worth looking forward to. Moreover, Ling Xiao had said from the start that he was here to fight for first place. He didn't care about third place at all. Boom! Suddenly, a shocking burst of energy shot into the skies from the martial artist's stands near the stage. In the sky, the intact door of laws reappeared, its 7 runes replenished. Feng Fei recovered, his gaze as calm as water. It was as if he didn't care or care about anyone. Almost at the same time, a burst of demonic energy exploded, and Tyranny Heavenly Ocean recovered. Not only did he recover, but his strength also increased during the process. As a result, he took even longer than Feng Fei. Truthfully speaking, Feng Fei and Tianhai Tyranny had similar innate talents, but their personalities were completely different. Tianhai Tyranny's requirements for strength were much stronger. He was practically a cultivation madman, willing to do anything to increase his strength. Today's results on the stage were the result of their personalities. They've recovered. Those two have finally recovered. Now it's up to Ling Xiao to see if he has the qualifications to pose a threat to them. Everyone looked excitedly at the stage and stopped eating. Even the noisy chatter stopped as they stared at the stage. Although the following battles wouldn't be as exciting as the final battle, they wouldn't be bad either. Some people even began to secretly support Ling Xiao. Don't lose too quickly. Let them feast their eyes on him. If he lost too quickly, then it'd be boring. Ling Xiao, they've already recovered. Choose your opponent. Lawless looked towards Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao nodded but didn't look at the two. What was there to choose? Feng Fei had lost to Tianhai Tyranny, so he naturally had to eliminate him first. The most exciting battle would be left for last. Feng Fei, then. Ling Xiao said mildly. Fighting against this sort of top-tier talent would definitely make him stronger. As a result, his chances of defeating Heavenly Sea Tyranny would be greater. Although he didn't say it out loud, Feng Fei was the best sparring partner he could have. Even if this sparring partner was very strong enough to make him lose his life. But if a martial artist feared death, then what was the point of cultivating martial arts? It was better to go home and take care of their children. Feng Fei chuckled and slowly rose to her feet. She wasn't surprised by Ling Xiao's choice. After all, she was a weakling who'd lost to Tianhai Tyranny, so it was normal for Ling Xiao to choose her. But, as always, she didn't place Ling Xiao in her eyes. Even though she'd lost to Tianhai Tyranny, her pride hadn't disappeared. Why don't you admit defeat? That way, you might be able to keep your life. Feng Fei looked at Ling Xiao and said, You should understand that both Tianhai Tyranny and I want your life. You're definitely not a match for either of us. In her opinion, the battle with Ling Xiao was purely a waste of time. If she couldn't take first place, then the White Tiger Gathering would be over. Chapter 2001. Then why don't you admit defeat? Ling Xiao looked teasingly at Feng Fei. I admit that you helped me when you were still pretending to be Mu Wanchuang. I'm very grateful for that, but your contempt for others really doesn't make sense. You once thought you'd beat Tianhai tyrannical ambition and become the champion of this year's White Tiger meet, but what about now? You've already lost. Are you still unwilling to learn your lesson? Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't think too highly of yourself. You're not so noble, nor are others so lowly. You want me to admit defeat? Feng Fei laughed coldly. Originally, I just didn't want to waste time. After all, I really have no interest in fighting with you. But since you want to fight, then I'll keep you company. But don't blame me for being ruthless when you lose your confidence. Cut the crap. You're just like your servant girl, all talk. If you want to teach me a lesson, show me your true strength first. Otherwise, shut your stinking mouth. Ling Xiao didn't give Feng Fei any face at all. Although Mu Wanchuang had helped him deal with a few people in the past, Feng Fei had only used her identity to get rid of those who disagreed with him. Those people were no threat to Ling Xiao at all. Moreover, Feng Fei had said that fighting him was a waste of time. Ling Xiao couldn't accept such an insult. After all, he was only a 17-year-old youth, full of vigor. How could he bear such contempt? He had to beat this woman into submission, just like Feng Ying. Very well, then I'll teach you what it means to overestimate your own strength. As soon as he finished speaking, Feng Fei turned into a gust of wind and instantly appeared in front of Ling Xiao. A terrifying divine phoenix aura erupted from her body, and the divine phoenix behind her looked down at Ling Xiao with disdain. Her fighting spirit exploded. That pair of jade-like hands lightly punched out, and the surrounding air seemed to be instantly scorched by flames, producing a scalding sensation. It turned into a strange heat wave that crushed towards Ling Xiao, wanting to burn Ling Xiao to ashes. Ant, just obediently be an ant. Don't try to provoke the true king. Feng Fei's voice was cold and angry. It was obvious that Ling Xiao's previous words had completely infuriated her. Now that she was dealing with Ling Xiao, she would definitely not show any mercy. He did not intend to show any mercy. In that instant, Ling Xiao felt as if his body was being squeezed by a heat wave, burning and about to melt. This terrifying scene made the audience below the stage break out in a cold sweat for Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao wouldn't be killed so easily, right? In that case, it would be too boring. Is this all you've got? What a joke. Faced with Feng Fei's attack, Ling Xiao's face rose to a cold, disdainful smile. If you want to kill me, you should at least show me some real skills. Xian World Body, Divine Phoenix Incarnation, Raging Flames, Divine Phoenix. In a flash, Ling Xiao's body turned into a real Raging Flames, Divine Phoenix. Terrifying flames rose from his body and forced back Feng Fei's heat wave. This guy, once again, Ling Xiao surprised everyone. He could actually turn into a Raging Flames Divine Phoenix. This was clearly a competition against Feng Fei. Ling Xiao wanted to defeat Feng Fei with Feng Fei's best moves and beat this proud woman into submission. Although it was simple and direct, it was perfect. Kill. Ling Xiao suddenly flew into the air, his terrifying phoenix claws slamming into Feng Fei's flames. Each attack was faster and sharper than the previous one. His fighting spirit soared to the skies, making him seem like the main character on stage. Instead, it was Feng Fei who seemed to grow silent. Feng Fei originally wanted to end the fight right away, but it seemed that things were much more difficult than he expected. Ling Xiao had too many tricks up his sleeve. Trying to kill him with flames wasn't realistic at all. Fine. I admit that you have the right to fight me. Feng Fei was clearly angry. The divine phoenix qi in his body began to change as a terrifying heavenly Tao energy emerged. The red qi around his body turned white as the door of heavenly laws appeared in the sky. Heavenly Tao energy, door of heavenly laws. Ling Xiao, you brought this on yourself. Don't blame me. Feng Fei looked at Ling Xiao and said coldly, Tianhai tyrannical ambition can withstand the attacks from the door of heavenly laws, but can you? Ling Xiao had already retreated. That terrifying energy was indeed a great threat to him. He returned to his original form and stared coldly at the door of heavenly laws. Abruptly, a blood-red yang sword appeared in his hands. At the same time, his sword intent began to rise. Elementary, small success, advanced, third level of large success, sword intent. The frenzied sword will continue to spill out. Ling Xiao's terrifying aura seemed to have turned into terrifying sword qi. Everyone who looked at Ling Xiao felt a sharp pain as if their bodies were being torn apart. This guy actually has a third level of large success, sword intent. Compared to many rebirth realm swordsmen, his sword intent is even more terrifying. Many people were stunned, including the rebirth realm cultivators. Sword intent was a type of battle intent that couldn't be achieved through cultivation alone. It required constant comprehension through actual combat. When Ling Xiao was in the Divine Phoenix continent, his sword intent was only at the small success level. But after countless bloody battles, he'd reached the third level of large success. Meanwhile, Feng Fei's heavenly Dao battle intent was only at the 9th level. In terms of pure battle intent, Feng Fei was far from Ling Xiao's. Of course, Feng Fei's cultivation level was higher at the first level of life seizing. Compared to Ling Xiao's peak 17th level Yin-Yang realm cultivation, he was much stronger. Thus, one had the advantage in battle intent, while the other had the advantage in cultivation. Who would emerge victorious would depend on the results of this battle. The blood-red yang sword radiated blood-red light in all directions. The terrifying blood-red sword seemed capable of cleaving the skies in half. Everyone looked at this scene in horror. They were all inexplicably shocked. Ling Xiao hadn't revealed his large success sword intent in his previous battles, only the advanced level. Thus, everyone assumed he was on the same level as the other top geniuses, but they never expected him to still be hiding his true strength. This was really too unexpected. Third level of large success, sword intent. The terrifying sword light seemed capable of ripping apart heavenly Dao energy and piercing through the door of heavenly laws. Feng Fei furrowed his brows. Ling Xiao had surprised her far more than tyrannical heavenly seas had. Tyrannical heavenly seas had only surprised her with the Devil's Sky sword. The previous battles had all been under her control, but she couldn't see through Ling Xiao at all. This guy really was hard to deal with. I admit that you've given me a great surprise. Next, I'll use 70% of my strength to fight you. You're worthy of that. Feng Fei said simply. Chapter 2002. Although Ling Xiao had surprised Feng Fei, his cultivation was still there. She didn't believe that Ling Xiao could overturn the heavens. With a cold snort, she unleashed her Heavenly Dao energy once more. Heavenly Dao, Door of Laws, attack! 70% of her first level, life-seizing cultivation was unleashed as the Door of Laws opened and the first rune began to flash. Thousands upon thousands of soldiers and horses charged out of the door. The cavalry charged forward, their terrifying Heavenly Dao energy roaring in the air. Ling Xiao's sword intent seemed to be blocked by the charge. Heavenly Dao energy and sword intent clashed in the air. But Feng Fei's attacks weren't over yet. The foot soldiers formed a chain of defenses to block Ling Xiao's sword qi. The archers had already fired their Heavenly Dao arrows. The arrows seemed to have eyes of their own as they dodged past the charging cavalry and headed straight for Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's sword qi shattered under the onslaught of the Heavenly Dao arrows. Deafening booms filled the air, causing everyone's eardrums to hurt. The spectators stared fixedly at the stage. They were already surprised that Ling Xiao had lasted this long. Now that his sword qi was being shattered, how was Ling Xiao supposed to fight back? Feng Fei was thinking the same thing, but she suddenly sensed a dangerous aura closing in on her. Looking up, She saw that Ling Xiao had already killed his way out of the encirclement, the terrifying blood-red sun sword in his hand, thrusting towards her. To catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. Ling Xiao's goal was clear. His sword was astonishingly fast. His third-level sword intent exploded forth, filling the air with blood-red sunlight. Heavenly Tao, door of laws, trap formation! Feng Fei stared coldly at Ling Xiao's attack as she muttered to herself. The second rune of the gate of laws flickered, and over 100 shadows scuttled out. The pitch-black chains attacked soaring heavens, wanting to trap soaring heavens like heavenly ocean tyranny. Is such a slow speed useful? Ling Xiao smiled contemptuously. A pair of sun and moon wings appeared on his back, increasing his speed by several times. Even the cobweb-like chains could not stop his attack. Daybreak kill. Ling Xiao's blood sun sword seemed to leave his right hand to turn into a streak of light that shot towards Feng Fei's throat. A terrifying sword whistling sound pierced through the void. Many martial artists could not help but cover their ears. Block it. Feng Fei gave a delicate cry as hundreds of shield soldiers appeared in front of her. The terrifying sword glint destroyed all of them, but it also lost its initial power and was easily dispelled by Feng Fei. Second form of the Red Sun sword art, Red Sun Flash. Without waiting for Feng Fei to react, Ling Xiao stabbed again with a second sword strike. The speed at which he condensed his sword was enough to leave anyone speechless. In a flash, the sword light pierced through all of his defenses to stab into Feng Fei's shoulder. Fortunately, Feng Fei's reaction was fast enough. Otherwise, the sword would have pierced her throat and killed her on the spot. Feng Fei's shoulder was very strange. It was like a piece of jade that couldn't be pierced. She used this chance to launch a counterattack. Celestial Tao, door of laws, celestial god. A celestial god appeared in front of Feng Fei and stabbed at Ling Xiao with a spear. In a flash, Ling Xiao felt like a mountain of steel was crushing down on him. His face grew cold as he shifted his body. Feng Fei's counterattack was truly terrifying and fast. Third form of the Red Sun sword art, Red Sun Vortex. As he dodged, Ling Xiao waved his blood sun sword, creating a strange vortex around him. The celestial god was actually caught in the vortex and seemed to fall into a swamp. The chains aimed at Ling Xiao were also pulled in by the vortex and gradually lost control. Ha ha ha, satisfying. Feng Fei, you really are one of the White Tiger Continent's peerless twins. You didn't disappoint me. Ling Xiao's hearty laughter rose from the stage. With a shake of his blood sun sword, he stabbed forward again. First form of the Red Sun 9 changes, Rising Sun change. With the blood sun sword in hand, even the sunlight turned blood red as it greedily absorbed the blood qi around it. Ling Xiao's celestial wings of sun and moon absorbed the light of the rising sun and moon to grow even more resplendent. His blood sun sword actually grew stronger as well. Ling Xiao's speed increased, and so did his sword light. He kept attacking Feng Fei, creating a sea of sword shadows in the air. The crowd watched in horror as they cried out in alarm. Is this Ling Xiao really inferior to Feng Fei and Tianhai tyrannical ambition? That's what they thought before, but now no one thought so anymore. This guy is really too strong. This dark horse might really kill his way to the end. The third level of sword intent at large success was truly frightening. Heavenly Tao, door of laws, 5 elements. Die for me, Ling Xiao. Feng Fei was enraged as well. Before she knew it, her strength had increased from 70% to 80%. This was because 70% wasn't enough to suppress Ling Xiao. That was too unrealistic. Attack, celestial god. Trapping formation, 5 elements. Feng Fei used 4 different types of law inscriptions to attack Ling Xiao. Meanwhile, Ling Xiao only had a single sword to attack her. The power of the sword seemed to be getting stronger and stronger, and its speed was also getting faster and faster. Finally, she felt a great sense of danger. She couldn't believe that this was Ling Zhao's attack. If his opponent was Tianhai tyrannical ambition, she could accept it. But this was Ling Zhao. She found it hard to accept. 6th change of the red sun, 9 changes. Heavenly sun change. Kill. Heavenly sun change combined with the blood sun sword made the terrifying blood-red sun look so real in the sky. A giant sphere floated above the stage like a giant ball of blood. It had a diameter of at least 10 meters. Terrifying power emanated from the blood-red sun, giving off an oppressive, frightening, and mysterious feeling. Boom! The blood-red sun exploded, releasing a resplendent sword light that forced everyone to close their eyes. This ray of light was too dazzling, making it hard for people to bear. A series of explosions resounded in the sky. A long time later, the crowd opened their eyes and cautiously looked towards the stage. On the stage, Feng Fei touched her heart. There was a clear sword wound there, dripping with fresh blood. Although her stab seemed to have missed Feng Fei's heart, it still broke through his defenses and made him bleed. The blood was so glaring and scarlet that it was a ghastly sight. Everyone was stunned by the sight of her blood-soaked robes. Feng Fei had actually been injured by Ling Zhao. It was hard to believe. Even Feng Fei herself found it hard to believe. After all, she hadn't even been injured on the surface during her fight with Tianhai tyrannical ambition. Only a few internal injuries. She cultivated the Qianquan shield arts of the Jingyi sect and never expected anyone to break through her defenses.